seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Okay, so by now you've formed your opinion on why Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round. Good morning, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Bro, we've diagnosed the problem or whatever, the situation. Everyone's got their opinion, whether it was football, whether it was what happened in the interview process, whether there were, Deion's celebrity was at play. We all kind of are in our corners and kind of split up into camps about why we think he fell.
Yeah, I mean, it could be multiple reasons.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. So now we know he's going to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if you saw the story that came out this morning. Shedeur already has the 3rd best-selling jersey of any of the people who were drafted over the weekend. Travis Hunter is 1st, Cam Ward is 2nd, and Shedeur Sanders' Browns jersey, where he's going to be the 4th quarterback on the depth chart, is now the 3rd best-selling jersey. So I think the bigger question now is not just the fit in Cleveland, because that's kind of the short term. It's whether or not Shedeur Sanders can actually get the last laugh on the NFL. And the NFL evaluation that was so wildly off from what we thought it was going to be, 1st round, 2nd round, goes all the way to the 5th round. Is there a way where this story becomes a positive, where Shedeur is a triumph, and where this beginning of the story is not actually how it ends, and we think, wow, look how far Shedeur's come?
Well, yeah, of course there's a way, but I think it's going to be tough. I think this is the exact, literally, of all 32 teams in the NFL, this is the last one Shedeur should have gone to, because they have a plan to get a quarterback next year, so nothing will get in the way of that.
Because the 2026 first-round pick that they got from Jacksonville.
Yeah. They're tied for the lowest win total in the NFL, according to Vegas, so they're definitely going to be a top 10 pick. And then they have Jacksonville is also on the lower end of the win totals, so that could be a top half pick. There's just no possible way they're not drafting a quarterback next year. I just don't see it. So where does that leave Shedeur? As you mentioned, the 4th string quarterback. This is immediately a tough spot, because he's going to have to be so good to convince him not to get a quarterback, but the team around him is not any good. So this offense is limited. We saw it last year. They were terrible. I just don't think that Shedeur can win the job and be so good that they won't draft Drew Aller or Arch Manning or some other quarterback next year. So we're already starting on a bumpy road, and I think when you land in the wrong spot, it's really hard to recover. It could take 5, 6, 7 years.
I agree with you. Cleveland was it was almost like a joke. Like, are you serious? They're going to send the guy who's the biggest story is that he's falling in the draft. Now he's going to go to the quarterback wasteland of Cleveland. However, I do think Shedeur can get the last laugh here. Now, obviously, the dude's got to change his attitude a little bit. Diana Rossini in her latest podcast said an executive said he was treating the pre-draft interviews like they were a recruiting trip, not like job interviews. We got to get serious here, okay? Because everyone says that he's tough, and we know that he's accurate. We know that he's not the 6th best quarterback in this class. Other factors caused him to fall. So I think that with Stefanski and with this Cleveland situation, because there's not a clear roadblock in his way, it's Kenny Pickett, it's Joe Flacco, it's Dillon Gabriel. If Shedeur gets serious, I think he could beat out Dillon Gabriel in training camp, and I apologize to all of our friends in Oregon and Norman. We love Dillon Gabriel also. Hawaii, we love Dillon Gabriel. But I think that if he gets focused, he could beat out Dillon Gabriel and Cam. Then you're looking at Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. Flacco is 40. Is he 41 at this point? And Kenny Pickett has done absolutely jack. I love that we talk of Kenny Pickett. He's the veteran in the room. Like, what? Okay. He's not had a lot of playing time here. And it was a disaster in Pittsburgh. And even when we saw him get in for the Philadelphia Eagles, Perloff, it wasn't like gangbusters. So I think that this is a place where Shedeur actually could see the field this year.
Yeah.
And then in a Kevin Stefanski offense, which is going to make him look good. Like, this is actually, it's not Greg Roman, a guy who's known for running quarterbacks and needing this huge arm. Kevin Stefanski made Kirk Cousins look really, really good.
But he didn't make Deshaun Watson and last year Jameis Winston look good. Like the offense is not what it was 4 years ago.
But Jameis Winston is not a moldable piece of clay. Deshaun Watson had so many other things going on, including lots of injuries, but all the off-field stuff. I don't know if anyone was going to be able to turn Deshaun into a thing. At least Stefanski is the right coach that could showcase his talents, and then not everyone's going to be able to land a quarterback next year. And if you actually were a team that maybe did have Shedeur as a second-round grade, but he fell because of attitude or what have you, if you need a quarterback next year, maybe you're going back to your notes and thinking, all right, let's bring the guy in and see how maybe he's changed. Maybe Deion's out of the picture a little bit more. Maybe he's corrected some of the correctable things. Like, he can control his attitude. That's all a mindset.
Wait, so you think So you're presenting a scenario where he gets traded to another team?
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Because you're right. I think that the Cleveland Browns are focused on a quarterback in 2026. Right. I'm not going to fight you on facts, you know?
But I'm just saying, what has that scenario ever worked where a young player gets traded in his second year, especially a quarterback, and then is good on the second team?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Browns are literally giving Kenny Pickett another chance. I know it's not the second year, but it's like...
That's the third team. I just think that you're starting a cycle in the NFL where he's going to have to find a home. It reminds me, you know who it reminds me of?
Who?
Geno Smith. Geno Smith clearly had talent. You land in the wrong spot. This is any quarterback, not just Shedeur. It takes a long time. And I just worry that Cleveland, even though they have Stefanski, who I really like as an offensive coach, is the exact wrong spot because of this team instability, the franchise instability. Then that's a big ask to find a second spot. It might take him years to really be what he should be.
Listen, Geno ultimately did get the last. It took a decade.
Well,
took a decade and a lot of ups and downs.
That's what I think Shedeur could be. He could be. You know who? He also reminds me very much of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold on his third team finally found the right coach, but that's tough, Maggie. I think for
Sam's
Shedeur,
on his Jets, Carolina,
Niners,
Minnesota. Sam's on his fifth team.
Right, on his fourth team, he found success.
Yeah.
So I just think that could definitely be Shedeur, and that's
he might
tough.
bounce around.
You know what would have been better if he had landed in a spot where you had an established starter. He could learn for a year or two and not hurt his value. I worry that Cleveland's going to hurt his value. Actually, it's going to take longer. Even though he'll get on the field much sooner, I think it's going to take longer for him to be who he should really be as a quarterback, talent-wise. Like, L.A. would have been ideal.
Well, sure.
And then I would have put Vegas as my number 2 choice behind Geno Smith. But for some reason, they didn't want him as a backup. And now he's in Cleveland where he's going to get a chance to play, which you would think would be good. But in this case, I'm not so sure it's good.
It's funny because we always thought the glow of Deion's Hall of Fame status would help Shedeur. Ironically, it hurt.
We did?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think so.
No. Well, everybody. Yeah, but even you thought, oh, this might be a problem.
Well, stay with me on this.
Yeah.
Ironically, he needed actually the glow of like the Rams or like a competent franchise to take a flyer on him to say, hey, it's safe. Like, if Sean McVay thinks that there's something here with Shedeur Sanders, that signals to the rest of the league, hey, this could work. It's same thing with like Kyle Shanahan with Sam Darnold. Like, I'm blessing this guy. You know, he's not going to be that bad. And it turns out that, you know, it's the Browns, the team that is known for not being able to find a quarterback to save their lives.
Yeah.
Now, but Stefanski is good, so you kind of have to disassociate that.
I think sitting behind Stafford and learning how to be a pro would have been awesome. Because clearly, based on the interview process, he hasn't had a ton of exposure to how other quarterbacks work. You know, never had another coach. Sean McVay would have been perfect. Yes, Stefanski's a good coach, but if you'd had Andy Reid, Sean McVay, and I hate to say it, Sirianni is a bit of a weirdo, but Philly, if he had sat behind Jalen Hurts, oh my God, that would have been great. But I think the Sanderses would have taken this situation because they think, you know, he's 23, he's a little bit older. They want to see Shedeur play immediately. And that is where I think some of the problems started already. Like when he was falling, I'll bet you people thought, the Sanders want him to start. You know, if he's, they don't want him to be a backup. You know, they never thought, and I don't know if that matters, but I think the mindset of the family was he's going to be a starter in the NFL. They never would have accepted him sitting behind an established veteran. But ironically, that probably would have been a better path, which is kind of contrarian to what you would think. Because you're right, he'll get on the field in Cleveland possibly. But I just don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, I think there's like a certain mentality. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders and whether or not he could get the last laugh here on the NFL and end up having a great career, despite what the league spoke and said, we don't like what we saw, heard, the whole package. But is it possible that he can kick, save, and a beauty this thing, and he turns out to be a great quarterback? Now, I'm not saying that a guy who's got a competitive spirit should ever accept like their lot in life, right? You're always trying to strive to, you want your backup quarterback to be having the starter's mentality. You always want to be getting better and better. But I do think there's a part of this that they have to accept what just happened. And I don't know yet. We don't know because Shedeur hasn't spoken publicly yet. And, we're never going to know what's in a man's heart. But did he actually see what happened? And is he going to take any responsibility for it? Now, Shiloh is not a good football player by NFL standards. Hired Drew Rosenhaus. Was like, I got a break from dad. I can't have Dion be my agent. I didn't get drafted. He hired an agent. Is Shedeur going to maybe see some of the same things? Like, hey, I got to, not that I have to like disown my dad or anything like that, but I got to now make my own way, and I've got to accept what the league just told me. Yeah,
that's a really good point. I hope he does. He's going to be stuck out in Berea, Ohio, without his dad there. I don't think by the actual situation, like his dad's not going to be around, so he's going to have to learn to do it without him, right? What option does he have? Is his dad going to stand by practice?
No, I mean, I imagine he'll come to the games, but that's great. I have no problem with that. Dad should come to the games. That's fine.
I think it's a good point. He's got to. I think some of this, like at the end of the day, obviously he's professional enough to run the offense and go out there. I don't think his attitude is going to keep him off the field, right? Like at this point, he's in the team. Who cares, right? Like if he was bad during the draft process, like he's not such a malcontent that he's going to be impossible in practice. I think he'll be good enough to get out there, but I think you're saying as a quarterback to develop, he needs to cut free. I mean, honestly, like he's not an 18-year-old kid too. He's played 5 years of college football. He could definitely step out there and run an offense.
I guess I'm thinking, there was like some more drips and drabs are coming out now from the pre-draft process. And so in some ways it kind of feels like everyone's kind of dunking on him now, but everyone's kind of coming with and emptying the notebook of all the reporters. And I was listening to Diana Rossini. She said one team said that he clearly didn't look at the playbook. They email the guys the playbook before the interview. They want them to have knowledge of the playbook, and some guys just don't look at it. And it looked like Shedeur didn't look at it. I can't imagine that he could take that tack now. Like now you got to be all in, right? But again, I don't know how committed is he? I don't know.
Well, no, he's gonna. It's so funny. You're right. That is the thing that is out there, but he's definitely gonna. He obviously read the playbook at Colorado, and that was an NFL playbook. He had Pat Shurmur as his OC. So I just think that he came in, and you pointed out yesterday, he came in thinking, I don't want to go to these teams, and Dion said, let's pull an Eli. So I think he thought he could mail in certain interviews. Turned out to be a mistake. I have no doubt that he's going to learn the playbook in Cleveland, right? Is there anybody that it's not like the movie Draft Day where they talk about guys who there's no way, based on the fact that he threw 37 touchdowns at Colorado, there's no way he's not learning the playbook at Cleveland.
I think so too, but I'm asking the question, do you think that Shedeur Sanders can get the last laugh on the NFL? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Listen, if you still have theories about why he dropped to the 5th round, we're open to hearing them. I think that everyone's kind of got their opinion on this now, though, right? Like you're either in the camp of Shedeur got screwed, blackballed, this is anti-Sanders, all of that, or you're more in the camp of the football evaluation was off from the beginning, the interview process didn't help him at all, no one wanted Dion looking over their shoulder, and sort of some combination of those factors.
When you say a football evaluation, you mean the media's football evaluation?
Yes.
Yeah. You're right. It's all of them. I think it's all of them. The one thing, you said something interesting, is he by far and away not the 6th best quarterback in this class. I don't think that's so obvious because we had Lance Zierlein writes to the NFL draft bullets for, he definitely had him in the closer to 6 than 1. There are a lot of, and they're all coming out now. A lot of people say that they had Dart ahead of him.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a hot take to say, Jack. And honestly, if you look at their college careers, they're very similar. And I think a lot of people had Shuck over Sanders. And I think that's basically because of height. So I do think there are people who ranked him 4th, maybe. The Gabriel part was confusing. And Milroe also, there are a lot of people who have Milroe ahead of him. Totally different. So I don't think it's wild to say he's the 6th best quarterback. Is that so radical? I know what we're saying, but talent-wise, if you put him on paper, he's not so different from these other guys. That's the thing. Like, if you look at him compared to last year's quarterback class, he's not like a traditional 1, 2, or 3 quarterback. So once you get into that range, it's not so obviously talented that he's going to get out there and blow anyone away.
Okay. I feel like that's Monday morning quarterbacking this thing because I want to stay true to who I was before this slide happened in the 5th round. And I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm not out there, breaking down guys' footwork and stuff like that.
But you can see the difference.
I watched him at Colorado. I thought he was a better quarterback than a lot of these guys.
But you can see the difference between him and Caleb Williams, right?
Well, of course.
You can see the difference between him and Drake May. Yes.
Absolutely.
Right,
Drake May was not at a good team, not at a great team either.
Yes, I mean, I do think you have to acknowledge this was a weak quarterback draft. So that's what we're talking about, too. Yes, he was a top player, but in this quarterback draft, last year he would have been white noise. He would have been stuck in with Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. I just think that, again, we're not talking about a generational quarterback. So once you get it out, you're talking about a good quarterback, which I think really affects how he's going to do here. Like if he was Drake May with that arm and he fell to the 5th round and the Browns got him, it'd be a much different discussion. I just think he's sort of an average to good prospect in a bad draft.
Yeah, but I don't want to be disingenuous here. It is stunning that he dropped to the 5th round. Like, let's not pretend now that it was like, well, 5th round is about exactly where he should be.
But would it have been?
That's not what the conversation was.
Right,
that's not even what I think a lot of people on their board said round 2 or 3.
Right. But would you have been stunned if he went to round 2?
I would not have been stunned if he went round 2.
If he was a round 2 quarterback, we'd be having the same exact conversation. Is he going to get on the field and and is he going to show the NFL? I think we learned an important lesson here. There is not a huge difference between the 2nd round and the 5th round for quarterbacks. Like the NFL does not like drafting quarterbacks in the 2nd round. So once that fall started, this is not my take, but the NFL definitely has an issue with drafting quarterbacks like other positions. Like, don't want to, if they're not going to take him in the 1st round, like, let's move off this guy because there's all this noise that comes with him. So, anyway, I don't think it's a huge difference going the 2nd round or 5th round. We would have been saying the same. We'd have the same conversation if he went 50th. I
disagree. I think the 2nd round, you're actually expected to push the starter. That's a message that gets sent to the starter. 5th round, you're lucky to make the roster.
But not with Shedeur.
Well, not with Shedeur, but you're talking about...
He happens to be a 5th rounder who we talk about like he's a 2nd rounder because we know he's a 2nd round talent. So you just said earlier in the segment that he's going to push the starter. So that's how... We would never talk about another... He's a 5th rounder in name only.
Right.
I'm being serious. Like, he really is a 2nd rounder in talent. I think everybody views him as that. So now we look at... We just compared him to Geno Smith. He is Geno Smith. He really is, or Will Levis. He is the guy that fell out the first. So anyway, maybe that's a cop-out. But he's the 5th round, I feel like people know he went there, but they still talk about him like he's a 2nd rounder. And because of the extra stuff. So when you're looking at Cleveland, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to look at it where Dylan Gabriel gets a shot because he's the 3rd round over the 5th round. I think they look at it much differently. Like, I think they're on an even playing field at best.
Our question to you, is Shedeur Sanders going to get the last laugh? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Are you looking at him and thinking the NFL is going to look silly and they're going to look dumb when he finally does get an opportunity and gets on the field, which I think he's going to in Cleveland, gets on the field and he could have a great game. He could put together 3 in a row. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Do you think it's going to happen? I think it's more likely that he does get showcased and then another team plucks him and says, he's learned. He's learned from his ways. He changed his attitude, all of that. Perloff's not so sure. 888-710-4ISN. What do you think? Okay, we've got a lot to do, including which of the quarterbacks that were taken in the draft is actually in the best spot. I mean, Cam Ward was the only, sure thing that we had going number 1. Everything else was a total crapshoot. So we'll get you that. We've got the latest on Aaron Rodgers. And one thing that we didn't get to yesterday that I think we must get to. Bill Belichick. What is going on? We've got theories about this now infamous, horrible interview that he did with CBS Sunday Morning, the biggest puff piece that you can possibly have. And I love that show. It's not hard-hitting journalism, okay? This is not 60 Minutes. Somehow Belichick botched it. 888-710-4ISN. Do you think Shedeur Sanders will get the last laugh?
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. The draft fall heard around the world. Shedeur Sanders, it is amazing. We'll get into it later this week, but the tentacles of this. It's still Tuesday after the draft, and I'm hearing more random conversation on the street. Did you watch the Shedeur thing? It definitely crossed over out of the draft world. And my wife watched the movie Draft Day, which has all, yes. So she's like, what is this draft thing you talk all about? Now she thinks that's exactly how it works. And it was the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns made a trade with a first-year Jacksonville GM, like in the movie. So basically it was life imitating art. And now draft day, when we watched, I'm like, this isn't how it really works. Then it turned out it's exactly how it works. Shedeur Sanders is Bo Callahan to the T. Everything in draft day. So there's going to be a great movie about Shedeur someday. Yeah, 30 for 30. Maybe we'll get in it.
Yeah, that'd be great. But instead of people not showing up to the fictitious quarterback's birthday party, it would be like Shedeur's concert, right? Wasn't that
100%?
Yeah, right.
It feels. So even when it came out, did you think Bo Callahan, when people are forced to go to his concert because they didn't want to go to his concert? But I get it. I mean, I heard Shedeur rap after the draft. Like, I don't know. If I'm a teammate and it's college and it's a Monday night, do you really want to go see your quarterback rap?
I'd rather do it when I'm in college than now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not going to get the coaching staff out there. That's a
I mean, I have a lot of friends who like put on shows or stuff, and I'm like, yeah, or do readings, and I'll like go and have to. I find that excruciating.
You have really artsy fartsy friends. I don't have those kind of friends. My friends are like lawyers.
I'm sure they appreciate being called artsy fartsy, by the way.
No, it's
a compliment.
They'd be thrilled with that. But I mean, in your 20s, did you have to go see like, my friend's going to try stand up? Oh, dear God, no.
No, my friends are like not like that. I don't know. You have a more diverse crowd of friends, maybe.
My new wrestling podcast partner is a photographer, and he invited me and Andrea to he has a photo gala.
Oh, nice.
It's happening next month. Never been to a photo gala. Don't know what to wear, what to expect, but it should be fun. I
mean, you guys do a wrestling pod. You should probably wear your best Ultimate Warrior T-shirt.
He was showing me some of his photography, though. This seemed like very, very fine, like photography, artsy type stuff.
Oh, it's highfalutin.
Yeah, you would never think this person is a wrestling podcaster.
Great. So you're going to be bored. Too bad you don't drink because they usually offer a lot of wine at those things. Soften the blow.
Yeah, that's where you go. But also, is there non-highfalutin photography? Like that's what photography exhibits are.
Gritty, you know? Gritty
that's the highest falutin. Like, I went to Yale, but here's a picture of a guy.
In the mine somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the game works.
The coal miners, definitely. Bill's in Houston. We got off track here. Let's get back to Shedeur, not Perloff's fancy arty friends. Bill, Shedeur dropped to the 5th round, and you thought what?
I just can't believe. I'm with you, Maggie. I can't believe he dropped all the way to the 5th round. It's really the strangest thing I've ever seen, and you all and everybody else is talking about him in the NFL like he is not a 5th round pick. He's being talked about more like he's a 2nd round pick. He's playing with Joe Flacco, who's at times been a great NFL quarterback. Kenny Pickett, people still want to give him a chance. So, just for example, the Houston Texans picked a quarterback in the 7th round of this draft. He won't even get a chance to get snaps in training camp. Yet we're talking about Shedeur Sanders as if he's got a chance to actually play on an NFL field.
Wait, but Bill, we all know what the difference is, right? The Houston Texans have C.J. Stroud. The Browns don't. You know, there's not a franchise quarterback there who's standing in Shedeur's way.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm just saying a normal 5th round quarterback would be dropped from the roster before the end of training camp.
Well, Graham Mertz, who we're talking about here, who you guys may remember from Wisconsin, and then he went to Florida. You know, he also got hurt. DJ Lagway took the job. No.
Okay. We're not making any excuses. Graham Mertz, we all saw Graham Mertz play. The fact that Graham Mertz got drafted 1 round behind Shedeur Sanders is the highest comedy in the history of the NFL. And I will not accept any other take.
Have a good day.
I know that Kuiper loved Graham Mertz, but everybody I know who's ever watched college football was laughing their butt off at that pick. I mean, we saw Graham Mertz for many, many years. And the fact that him and Shedeur Sanders basically got picked at the same spot, oh, my God.
I mean, a guy that lost his spot to a freshman.
Lagway's good.
I know, but still.
Did you see Mertz at Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah.
And I was a big Mertz fan. I was like, this guy's a stud. He's 6'4". Oh, my God. He looks like a great 5-star recruit. Oh, my God. There's no.
Perloff's like, the humanity. I mean, guys.
I had many hot take that Graham Mertz was going to be the next it guy. And boy, he was not. I just think that a lot of people were shocked at that pick. Is that fair to say?
It wasn't a good draft. So what do you think is going to happen in the 7th round? I was actually, if we're talking about the later round drafts, I was actually a little more surprised about the Quinn Ewers fall. And I think we would have been talking about the Texas quarterback and how far he fell in the draft had it not been for Shedeur, because Ewers got hurt a lot. So the injuries are certainly a concern. So did Mertz. I'm not putting them on the same level.
Got you.
But, Quinn Ewers was a highly touted recruit, played in really big games, and played well in those games.
I don't know. Did he play that well, you think?
I'll say this for Quinn Ewers. I think this is the nicest compliment that I can give to Quinn Ewers. He staved off Arch Manning for another year. I think that's a good sign. Arch had all Arch has got his 6'4", 235. He's got his, famous family in his corner. Arch kind of changed recruiting at Texas, which is crazy because Texas, you would think, recruits itself, but Arch definitely had an effect. There was an Arch bump and an Arch bubble that they are benefiting from. And the fact that Ewers stiff-armed him for another year, I thought was a good sign. But he goes 7th-round pick to Miami. And with Tua's health concerns and Zach Wilson is the backup, it's not crazy that Quinn Ewers could get on the field. It's just I don't know if he can hold up in the NFL. He couldn't hold up in college.
The late round pick for me was Curtis Rourke going to the Niners. That's interesting. A guy who definitely fell because he was badly hurt. And 7th round picks in Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
that's
watch out.
Yeah, and actually I would give you the Ewers and the systems does seem to be a fit. That's interesting. Graham Mertz went to Houston. I don't see that going anywhere.
Well, I hope not.
But
then something terrible happened if Graham Mertz is getting on the field.
If you're a later round pick, you want to get married to Shanahan. You want to get married to Sean McVay. You want to get married to Mike McDaniels. I think that's interesting because, or Stefanski, you want to be in the right spot. Will Ewers be the backup? Is that what you said?
No, Zach Wilson's the backup.
Oh, Zach. Yeah. See, I like Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson could be a real serviceable backup. Yeah, I mean, you just scarred from following the Jets so closely because I got to tell you, you just look at the stats. You had no idea. If I told you Sam Darnold was going to throw 35 touchdowns last year, would you believe me?
No, but Justin Jefferson certainly helps. I mean, listen, Zach Wilson can't complete a 5-yard pass. It's not about Zach Wilson.
Yeah, but Zach Wilson's throwing to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I think you're wrong about Zach Wilson. And I'm just talking to you too, Jets fan over there. I think there is a chance for Zach Wilson, believe it or not.
Well, actually, that's a good transition because Zach Wilson actually won more games as the Jets quarterback 2-3 years ago now than Aaron Rodgers did last year. And quickly about Rodgers. So, obviously, we're talking about late-round quarterbacks now. Steelers take Will Howard from the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Late-round pick. They've got 3 guys on the roster, though, right? They've got Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and now they've got Will Howard. They've been open about saying we need 4 quarterbacks. So Art Rooney, the owner, came out over the weekend in a radio interview, said they feel confident that it's going to happen with Rodgers. I'll tell you what, I think at this point they better hope it happens with Rodgers unless they really just want to do young quarterbacks and kind of tank for next year. Or not tank, whatever the Steelers' version of tanking is, and get their guy for next year. But Rodgers just got handed quite a bit of leverage, did he not? Which is kind of the one thing that you wanted to keep away from Rodgers. You didn't want him coming in the building and it having being the Aaron Rodgers show as much as you could help it for a 4-time MVP and someone of his stature. I think now because they only added Will Howard, which is late round and not a sure thing at all, Rodgers just got handed the keys to the kingdom, did he not?
I heard a theory that, and tell me what you think of this, that Rodgers and the Steelers had a handshake deal before the draft, and Rodgers asked him not to announce it because of something, I don't know why, but that this deal has already been done, and Rodgers asked the Steelers, please don't go public with it yet.
Well, we had gotten the report that the financials were already kind of agreed on. They know the money, and we know Rodgers. He'll play for 10 M's, guys. $10 million. Right. It's just a bargain. So I don't know why Rodgers wouldn't want them to announce it, but
I think I lean, and I could be wrong, that the deal has been done for some time now, and that explains the Steelers' behavior at the draft.
This might not be the right move for the Steelers, but I get why they're doing it. You've always been proponent of them to do the full process, the tank, try to get into the top 5 for a quarterback. No, I don't know if Rodgers is going to get you there.
They'll never do that, though. I mean, and also, too, and I think we went viral for your bad take that Mike Tomlin has a lifetime contract.
Yeah, that you said.
That I said. I don't think everyone's like, oh, the Steelers are going to change their ways. Based on what? Let's look at the last 50 years. They've had 3 coaches, and they're not going to rebuild. They just will not do it. There's too much pressure to win there.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Okay, EJ, can you throw up a poll question? Will Shedeur Sanders get the last laugh on the NFL? Andrew Bogusch is here with all the latest. Hello.
Guys, good morning. Your headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Apparently, Jimmy Butler told Draymond Green that he would get the rebound if Green forced a miss from Rocket center Alperen Şengün in the final seconds last night. So that's exactly what they did.
Şengün dribbles on Draymond. 9 seconds, 8 seconds to the paint. Spins, jump hook for 14. It's up and no good. Rebound Butler. Butler is fouled with 4 seconds to go.
The defense and the rebound, and then Butler's free throws got Golden State a 109-106 win and a 3-1 lead on Houston. Green played D like that for most of the fourth quarter with 5 fouls.
I can't be a guy for this team just because I got fouls, I lay off. Like, I'm our defensive anchor. You got to be that. And if I foul out, I just foul out.
Butler finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists after missing Game 3 of this series with that deep glute bruise.
He played 40 minutes?
He played 40 minutes.
Deep glute bruise. Shocker he played.
Pain in the ass. That's what
a contusion. Dude, get out there. And I don't even want to hear about this injury. Yeah, I know. Of course he played. He had a contusion. Nothing was torn. This is not a heroic journey. This is not Willis Reed. His butt hurt.
Last night's other game was an abomination. The Cavs crushed the Heat 138-83, and it wasn't that close for a 4-game sweep. 55 points, ties for the 4th largest win in postseason history. Cleveland sets a record with a 122-point differential in the series. The
Heat culture.
Beautiful.
Well, but here's the thing. I kid.
I don't.
Yeah,
but they're now going to be major players this offseason for, I don't know if it's free agents, if that's really even the way to go right now, because I don't think this class, I don't even know who headlines this free agent class, but the Giannis watch is on.
Why the hell would you want to play for that team?
Because Pat Riley comes and puts the rings out on the table?
Why the hell would anyone want to play for Pat Riley right now? Have you seen his teams recently?
I know, but EJ, you can't ignore the fact that even if it ended badly with LeBron and all that stuff, like they got to the finals on teams that overachieved. Like, clearly he knows still how to put a team together. The stuff with Jimmy at the end was embarrassing. I'll give you that. But nobody's more associated with winning than Pat Riley.
I think you just said it, though. Like, his teams have been completely devoid of top-end talent. So if you're a Giannis and you're traded there, that means that they're probably losing talent to get you. Why would you have any confidence that Pat Riley can put people around you? He hasn't done it since whenever LeBron left.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
the Jimmy Butler teams were not like super talented.
No, they weren't. But think about it, going to the finals. I mean, I think that it was like it was kind of a bit of a masterclass in team building. Now they got to the finals and they got beaten. But I think that Pat Riley's shown he can build teams in different ways. And I always think Miami's going to be a destination. And in the NBA, like guys just call their shot about where they want to go, and they're like, make it happen.
Well, Riley, they had 4 G Leaguers on the starting lineup, guys who'd been in the actual G League. Yeah. It was amazing that they got to the finals. But I kind of agree with EJ. I mean, when I think about a broken down older Giannis, there's only one destination for that guy, and that is Madison Square Garden.
Oh, no. Barclays Center, baby. Let's go.
Right. Like, where do old players, they go to New York, not Miami? Miami's too smart.
I mean, you say that, but Giannis had a great season this year. Nothing about
I know
him
this year. I'm projecting forward.
I got you.
Yeah. No, he's only 30.
Yeah.
But I do worry he's so physical.
Yeah. I mean, I just think this Heat thing, I mean, I'm wondering how much longer Pat Riley has.
Well,
like,
he's 80.
If I'm Mickey Harrison, I might say, hey, buddy, like, you might have to just live on these stocks and let's get some new blood in here.
I don't know. That feels like a lifetime contract a la Mike Tomlin.
No, it's even into the afterlife. Right. And somehow Pat Riley, hologram Pat Riley is going to still be.
That definitely feels like
I will give you Jerry West
was making those two guys.
Jerry West was making killer draft picks in his mid-'80s, so there is precedent where you can build a team that.
I get it. I just and I say this and I kid a little bit, but like I'm also taking like this is Heat fans. Like I'm seeing Heat fans that are like Pat Riley is like totally lost his fastball. Like, they are furious. They couldn't get Damian Lillard. They haven't gotten a big star in a long time. They couldn't get Donovan Mitchell. They wanted him. Like, Pat Riley hasn't made the big move in a long time.
Well, counterpoint, though, sometimes the best move you make is the move you didn't make, and not taking the bait on Durant and trading Jimmy Butler to Phoenix was probably a really smart move. And they ended up trading him to Golden State instead. And I know that got really ugly at the end.
Sure.
But I think that's the move you do not make. You don't bring Kevin Durant in.
I agree with that, but I just think when you look at where that team is going, I don't see a path to fixing this. Like, I don't think he fixes this because I think, again, like, Giannis is on a team right now with a bunch of G Leaguers. They were playing Ryan Rollins minutes for the Bucks. He's going to go play with guys like that in Miami. Those are the guys they're starting. Like, this team that we saw get beat by 50 points yesterday and 30 points the other night, these teams don't have top-end NBA talent.
Well,
that's because he's going to play with the G Leaguers in Brooklyn. It's already
and Tyler Hero can't be your number one.
So they're good.
Clearly, Tyler Hero can't be your number one
Tyler
option.
Hero, he's awesome though. For when you have
when
you have no players on your team in general though. I love this Tyler Hero and 4 scrubs. He's going to shoot 60 times a game. It might work. It might not. This is, I think you're right. Like, also, can we just say, like, the Eastern playoffs have been an abomination. It's terrible.
I don't know. The Knicks-Pistons series has been
a good
fun.
series.
Oh, the Knicks-Pistons series is the ugliest thing. That's good. And by the way, that's the only good chance. It's 3-1. Like, are we going to get to 6 games in any of these series?
Maybe. I could see the Knicks losing tonight whenever they play. Definitely.
It's been the worst first round I ever remember. I
totally disagree with that.
It's so lopsided.
I think the West has had good matchups. The Knicks games have been really competitive. I know the Bucks series has been kind of weird, but they've been a lot of fights at least. That's been good.
Well, but
the West has been great. I mean,
the West has
the
been
Nuggets,
awesome.
Clippers has been awesome. Anyway,
everyone, it's a sweep and 2 5-game series, and there's one close series. Yeah, no, it's been very
it's
lopsided.
the first round.
Right, I think it's probably the most lopsided first round ever. I would check that. I don't think there's anything close.
The Heat were the 10 seed?
Yes.
Yeah, so the play-in is the problem, like part of the problem.
That is definitely
they should not be in the playoffs to lose by a combined 100 points in 2 home games.
And this is a team who, they were in a better position when they had Jimmy Butler. So this is they're kind of almost worse than a 10 seed because this was a team that was a 7 seed with Jimmy Butler that then fell to 10. Right. So imagine if they played a whole season without Jimmy Butler. They would have lost 55 games. This is a terrible team that's somehow made it, and now they've gotten their heads kicked in by the Cavs 4 games.
Well, and the Cavs are amazing.
Right, exactly.
They're playing really well. Bogusch, thank you so much. Appreciate that. We'll talk to you next hour. Coming up, Bill Belichick. As you've seen him before, but really never seen him before. Why is he letting this 24-year-old call the shots in public, in interviews? Bill, what happened? Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Bill Belichick, and what happened to the guy we've known for the last 30 years? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. And listen, this interview that he did with CBS Sunday Morning, which is a fun show, light show, a not controversial show. This is not when 60 Minutes shows up to your door and you're like, oh my gosh, start shredding all the documents. This is a show that's, Sunday morning, drink some coffee and hear about vintage pinball machines and stuff like in national parks. Like, it's that kind of a show. So Bill Belichick has a new book out, and it's getting a lot of attention for a couple reasons. And now it's getting attention for a lot more. Mm-hmm. At first, it was really that, Robert Kraft is nowhere in the book. There's no acknowledgement of Kraft. There's no acknowledgement of anyone in the Kraft family, despite the 20-year run that they all had together that was so influential. But now this interview is getting attention because Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, Jordon Hudson, interrupted the interview when a very simple question was asked, which is, how did you two meet?
Jordon was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordon right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Okay, more here. TMZ reporting that Belichick's interview was worse than what aired. They had to cut 30 minutes from it, Pearl. And at one point, Jordon Hudson, again, his 24-year-old girlfriend, stormed out in the middle of it and expected Bill to follow her. I would love to know in the history of CBS Sunday Morning, again, we're talking about like bubble gum on this show. I kid you not. How many people have stormed out of an interview? Like, it's a show about stained glass windows and like vintage cars. I just can't get across enough how much these are lighthearted stories. These are not storm out of the interview kind of stories. And here's my other question about Bill. Since when does he need anyone answering questions for him? I would guess Bill Belichick at this point has probably done over 1,000 interviews in his life. 1,000. He does not need anybody jumping in to say, we're not answering that question. He's a grown-ass man. He's one of the greatest coaches ever.
He's the worst interview in the history of professional sports. I mean, I've seen him shut down questions before.
Exactly.
But I mean,
he's made a cottage industry out of it. He doesn't need someone doing his bidding.
But it's always awkward. It's always like, hey, what did you think of that pass play on to Cincinnati? It's always bizarre.
He's the last person who needs a bodyguard when it comes to media.
Well, yes, but generally, like, I don't think he's not a human being in interviews. Like, he's actually lightened up in the last 5 years, but it's not unusual that he wouldn't know how an interview works. He's never figured that out.
Well, but here's the thing. It's not unusual that he would be awkward in an interview. Obviously, we've sat in on Belichick interviews. Right. They are beyond awkward.
He's never not been awkward.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think there was a time when he was gregarious, but then he felt burned by the media and he sort of shut down and it became the Patriot way and all that stuff. But he doesn't need somebody to jump in, right? And again, you're storming out of an interview, a CBS Sunday Morning interview. You look like a fool. They look foolish here. They both do. Bill does and she does.
But this is a 73-year-old man dating a 24-year-old. Could you argue they already look foolish?
Yeah, and the other part about this is that, you know, they're asking for basically privacy is what this is kind of acknowledging. If you don't want to answer a simple question, how did you two meet? Which I thought we already had that story. I thought they met a plane.
I don't understand why, unless that was a total lie, why wouldn't they just say that?
I don't know. They're being cagey about it now. Yeah. But you can't have it both ways. And you've pointed out the hypocrisy of Bill Belichick many times, especially him joining the media after he was such a jerk to the media for so many years to use it for his gain last year. But she's all over social media, posting these ridiculous photos of Bill Belichick in a fisherman's costume, pretending to catch her while she's in a mermaid costume. Like, you guys are dopes. It's cringy.
That is actually kind of fun.
Okay,
how about when
the yoga poses?
Yeah.
You can't now pretend and play like, hey, guys, we really want our privacy. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, that's true. Although, let's not hate on the fisherman photos. That was kind of fun. But generally, you're right. Like, this is an odd time to ask to shut it down.
It's like, you know what? Don't need to know about the role playing, guys. Like, ill. Don't need the fisherman mermaid, whatever kind of fantasy this thing is getting lived out. Gross. Yeah,
but this can't be surprising, right? That she's
it's shocking.
Unusual.
No, it's shocking to me that she's so involved. That's whatever. But the fact that she's going to be the muscle here for Bill Belichick, who can handle himself in any interview in any situation, is just wildly stupid.
There's a photo shoot with Bill Belichick's ex-girlfriend where he's on the cover of Nantucket magazine. Have you guys ever seen this? Mm-hmm. He looks like a hostage victim. He's wearing this fancy outfit. If you look at his face, his then girlfriend was pushing him around.
Yeah.
He's good on the football field. I think this is an odd space for him. You mentioned this is a lifestyle show, CBS. This is not his territory.
No, but he's also trying to sell books, and he's not dumb.
Well,
so you play the game.
But did you think he was going
to
do normally? He doesn't know how to play the game. He's such an awkward, weird dude.
The book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life.
He's been pushed around. He was pushed around pretty good off the field by his last girlfriend. Yeah, so that I understand. And by the way, as a man, I understand that too. If I'm 73 and God forbid I'm not with my gorgeous wife, and there's some 24-year-old who wants to push me around in an interview, have at
it. She can say whatever she wants. I mean, to be fair, Bill Belichick's Linda was like 58. I don't know. They just seemed a little bit more, Whatever. Who
that
knows?
seems a little more appropriate. Yeah,
but
I
she
hear
was
what you're
also not storming into a Patriots press conference or a book tour or anything to be like, we're not answering that question. And by the way, it is a red flag when you can't answer a simple question or don't want to answer a simple question. Now, maybe they have their reasons.
Yeah.
But has anyone ever had anyone like this in their life? Like someone's girlfriend, someone's boyfriend, you meet them for the first time, and it's like they can't answer simple questions like, what's going on
Well,
here?
maybe
What are
they're
you hiding?
embarrassed that they met online. I've been in that scenario. Haven't you? Where they met on Tinder and didn't want to admit it?
I just feel like that's not a stigma anymore.
Yeah, probably
2025.
not. But I remember maybe back in the day, people didn't want to admit it. Maybe that's where they met. And they didn't meet on the plane.
But then why lie?
She's swiping on a 73-year-old man? Come
Heck
on,
yeah.
there's no
It is
way.
Belichick. All right,
See those
lots more
rings,
to do.
EJ.
I would think this is going to end one for her.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, now it's a pile-on Shedeur Sanders. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It's now, there were no good interviews, Pearl, if you're listening to people now. It was every interview feels like it was botched. It's very hard to find someone to come out and say, we had a great interview with Shedeur. You know, this went swimmingly. We just decided to go in a different direction. And it's very obvious, or at least obvious to me, that the Browns had no plans on drafting Shedeur Sanders, right?
No, that's very, very clear.
Exactly, because Dylan Gabriel went in the 4th round.
Yeah.
And then Shedeur comes along 50 picks later in the 5th round, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense from a team-building standpoint.
I mean, the theory's out there that Dion or someone made a call to owner Jimmy Haslam, and he made the pick. Feels more and more pretty sure that's what happened. I mean, don't you think that's what happened?
I don't know if Dion had to make that call. I don't think you need to lead Jimmy Haslam into a situation that's going to be controversial yet interesting and will likely end up with everything kind of blowing up in all of their faces. I don't think you have to lead that horse to water, so to speak. I think that he will find the way there himself. But I think that we're asking you today, is there any way that Shedeur Sanders gets the last laugh? Because, to be honest, it's a little like the stock market, which I know is dicey right now, but in a regular time, the stock market, what do they say, Pearl? You always buy low, buy low, sell high. No one wants to buy at the peak of the market. And so Shedeur, you can't get stock lower right now. And, if anyone's going to zag or if Shedeur's going to take this thing seriously and he's really going to put his nose to the grindstone, and maybe, I'm sure Tom Brady's already given him some advice because, Tom was picked 199. He knows what it's like to fall in the draft. Not like this, but it's possible. I think that Shedeur turns this into something really great, and the NFL will look stupid because they will pass on him. Now, maybe also Shedeur has to mature a little bit, right?
I love this idea. The NFL will look stupid.
Who NFL, are you? The Shield.
The teams that pass on him will look stupid.
Sure.
But when you say the NFL, you're implying they blackballed him as a league, and that's probably not what happened.
No, I'm not. I don't mean to make it that sinister.
Yeah, like you say, did the NFL look stupid for not taking Tom Brady till the 6th round? Not exactly.
I guess I would say, okay, you want me to specifically call out the Giants, the Saints, the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I think that's what could happen is the Giants. I think because we look back, for me, the one that I know they had Dwayne Haskins, but the Washington Commanders not taking Justin Herbert and taking Chase Young instead was like, oh, you look back at that. I think it'll be individual teams who will be burned by Shedeur. And I think Shedeur would love to put together a list, right? Like the Giants, number one. I think the Giants, and maybe the Raiders. I think he was probably a little upset with them.
Well, it also depends on how you're wired. Like guys like Tom Brady, for example, or some of the greats, Michael Jordan. I'm not saying Shedeur's in that class, but they took every slight, even not real stuff, as the big chip on their shoulder. Right now, that's not the sense I get from Shedeur, that he's that motivated by the slights.
I think he could end up being that way. I mean, let's
life
hope
is good for him, man. He acts like no skin off my back.
Right, and the public, we have no idea what's really going on underneath there. I think if it does work out in 4 years, he will remind you. I'll bet you it'll be the same thing you just described, a huge chip on his shoulder. That might be his best attribute right now.
I guess, sorry, Dylan Gabriel's a 3rd round pick. Did I say 4th round? I meant 3rd round. Pardon me, to all of our fans in Oregon. I think that the other part, though, is is Shedeur going to have his moment, and hopefully for his sake, it doesn't take a decade, where it's Geno Smith. They wrote me off and I didn't write back. Geno, who had the perfect clapback for that moment. Does Shedeur ever get that that satisfaction.
Yeah,
Does his career ever deliver that?
That took 5 teams in 8 years for Geno.
And being a backup forever.
Yeah, I know. I hope so. I really do, actually. But I just think Cleveland could lend itself to him being on 4 different teams. Honestly, just because of the turmoil with that particular franchise at the quarterback spot. I mean, Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback, and he couldn't even stick there because the franchise isn't solid.
No, I get it. So you're welcome to weigh in on that. You can vote at Maggie and Pearl on X. Will Shedeur Sanders get the last laugh at 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476? Or to be honest, are you writing off Shedeur now? A lot of NFL teams did. Do you think he's an unserious guy? It's kind of what the NFL said. Now, whether he was intentionally bombing some of these interviews, that's just terrible advice that he was getting. But it's, how he handled himself in the pre-draft process, what we're hearing now, feels unserious. EJ, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I feel like the Deion effect that people haven't spoken about is when Deion created prime time, it was calculated. Deion has talked about this. Deion created prime time, the persona, because he looked at what cornerbacks were making in the NFL and realized they were not a valued position. So he felt like he had to create a persona, a character that was larger than life in order to make more money. Jordon Sanders is a quarterback. And I think somehow he's kind of presented the prime time light element to his persona when quarterbacks get paid the most anyway.
Right.
And I
you don't have to sell us. You get pushed up the board anyway, just by virtue of the position.
Right, exactly. So, and again, I think he is being authentic in how he wants to present himself. But I just wonder if, in some ways, in this one element, was Deion the wrong person to be leading him through this? Maybe he was a great person to lead him up to this point, right? He's got him to be a D1 quarterback, got him to be a Unitas Award winner. He's got him to this point. But, he doesn't need to be primetime the QB. He just needs to be Shedeur Sanders, and that would have been good enough. And I think that's one thing, if we talk about where Deion messed up. Yeah, he messed up with a lot of other things. I think that particular thing as well, he doesn't need to be legendary Shedeur Sanders. He could just be Shedeur Sanders, and that would have been enough.
It's a good point. Yeah. Actually, let's play this sound from Diana Rossini, if we can play that, Connor. Her podcast with Chase Daniel, the longtime backup NFL quarterback, saying that also Shedeur not having an agent and having Deion running the show in terms of that stuff did not help him.
I did have a team share with me this morning that they wondered as an organization if Shedeur had an NFL agent with experience with a top quarterback entering the draft, if that agent would have provided maybe a little bit more insight into the preparation, into the process over the 3 months leading into the draft after their season. That way, those interviews go well.
And also, someone to be a little more honest, right? And maybe teams would have felt like, hey, I can be honest with Drew Rosenhaus, or I can be honest with one of these more Jimmy Sexton, whoever it would be, these famous agents, and I can give them the real truth. And maybe Shedeur would have listened. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's a really good point. Obviously, it is a little tricky because Cam Ward didn't have an agent either, and he went number 1 overall. And I think a few of the top 5 picks haven't had agents. I get it.
But we thought Lamar Jackson, it might have hurt him not to have an agent at times.
It clearly didn't hurt Ward, though. Yeah. So I think every case is different. And the other thing, too, is if you're talented enough, it does not matter at all. But that's the bottom line. Shedeur couldn't get away with it. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, I do think probably the same thing. But Lamar Jackson was, a Heisman. He was so far ahead of Shedeur. It's really interesting.
But had he had an agent leading up to the draft, would he have been the 30, whatever Lamar was, 32 or whatever, 31?
Did Caleb Williams? I feel like Caleb Williams might not have. One of the top quarterbacks last year didn't have an agent. It seems to be a thing now. But again, you don't have an agent when you are pretty sure you're going to be a top 5 pick. Obviously, Shedeur screwed that up.
Well, the other part, too, is you're walking out of these meetings. Even if you can't be that delusional that you think the meeting with Brian Daboll went well. Even your legendary status or whatever you think you are, if you walk out of me wow, that got kind of tense, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, then are you thinking, oh, maybe I should grab some help here? This is not going down the way I thought.
But it's tough when you have people in the media then saying, well, you know what, good, you don't need those teams anyway. And I love Louis Riddick, and I hate to point him out, but that's what I'm thinking about. He had we were hearing something maybe wrong with these top teams and what they did with Shedeur, and then you have people in the media saying, you know what, it's good that he falls. Well, it wasn't. It actually wasn't so good that he fell, because then other teams heard what other teams were doing and said, maybe we shouldn't deal with him either. I think Amy Trask was right yesterday when she said that his groupthink involved with the NFL. If the teams who actually talked to him didn't like him, what do you think the teams that already were stiff-armed going to?
But let me ask you a question. Do you think teams were reacted to some of this media stuff? Like, I heard some people say it's our fault that Shedeur fell. Do you think teams saw all the media buzz especially after White Night 1, when there was like 1,000 takes and said, oh, you know what, do you think teams actually avoid that stuff, or care what Louis Riddick said? Like, I'm curious, are the teams in their own bubble, or are they reacting to the public via the media?
I think it depends on the team. I think that some teams really do not want the backup quarterback to be a thing. And that's not just Shedeur. That's Cam Newton. It was tough for him to be a backup after he was an MVP. Jay Cutler didn't really, the end of his career probably could have been longer if he would have wanted to be a backup. There's some guys who you just can't bring them in as a backup. It's not going to work.
I think it's really called the Tebow effect. I think
Tebow. It's kind of a credit to Jameis Winston that he's gonna spend more of his life as a backup quarterback collecting checks, even though he is a big personality. He somehow fits into a locker room. It's odd.
I mean, again, with the agent thing, Caleb Williams definitely didn't have an agent, and Cam Ward didn't have an agent. They both went number 1 overall. So if you're not going to have an agent, you better be really, really good. Yeah, right. You have to have certainty.
You know what else, too, real quickly?
Yeah.
Those two other guys, they also had college coaches who are experienced college coaches. And remember, we're talking about pro days. There's a lot of organization that comes with also just dealing with the schools and dealing with these guys. NIL situations USC gets a little dicey, but especially Miami, very organized, right?
Right.
So these guys may not have agents, but they have advisors, financial advisors, football coaches that can help them through some of this process that have dealt with NFL teams before. Remember, again, talking about the Deion effect, everything is Deion. Deion hasn't done a pro day like this before. He hasn't had this situation where he has to facilitate NFL teams talking to his players. These are things that are going to be new to him. So while Cam Ward and Caleb may not have agents, they did have people around them that were more experienced in dealing with stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, even just the choice to go to the Shrine Bowl and not play as opposed to the Senior Bowl and all that stuff, it does. I mean, but here's the thing. I have to play devil's advocate. I mean, Deion knows people in the NFL.
Right, but there's a difference between knowing people in the NFL and knowing how to play the game.
They didn't want to play the game.
Right, and they definitely had no interest in playing that game that comes with that.
I can't buy that. I mean, Shedeur was more connected to NFL coaches than any player in the history of college football. He had an entire NFL staff behind him.
Yeah, but they didn't play the game.
Right, yeah, I know, but you don't think Pat Shurmur and all these guys knew how this worked? I mean,
I think you underestimate how much Deion runs everything.
Just sucks up the oxygen.
He doesn't call the plays.
I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
Maybe when they play on the field, he's saying you call the plays and stuff. But in terms of organization and how his son is being promoted, Pat Shurmur has no say in that.
But you don't think all those NFL people around Deion could give Shedeur advice? I don't know. It feels like he'd be connected. And honestly,
go ahead. Sorry.
And also, your Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, I mean, they put guys in the NFL in the year 2002, but when's the last time you had a good player?
Cristobal at Oregon was putting guys, Justin Herbert. He's dealt with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Taking a shot at your team.
I know. I'm just saying, but my thing though is that, and there's been reporting that one of the issues scouts had and people in the NFL had was that when they went to Colorado, they felt like they couldn't get any real accurate word on what was going on with Shedeur, who he was, because they said everyone was so afraid of Deion. It was this idea that if you talk to a coach or a equipment manager or whatever, that they're not going to give you the real story because Deion will fire them or whatever. So there were issues with the Colorado of this as well. And again, that goes back to you don't got an agent. Your dad's the head coach of the team. He's new at this. I think there were a lot of issues with that.
I think you're right. And I think the kind of people who are giving him advice, maybe Pat Shurmur or whatever, but who's been fired by multiple NFL teams, but Warren Sapp,
T.O.
probably has a thing or two to say about the draft process and how it kind of can unfairly.
I would take a step aside. There's been some really good coaches who've come through that Colorado program in the last 3 years. I know Warren Sapp obviously is probably a good coach, but there's been a lot of NFL people, real NFL people. Deion, and by the way, he brought in a couple. You see, he hired Marshall Faulk this offseason.
Yeah,
and but Byron Leftwich obviously is a star. I mean, I don't think that's fair to say that he's brought in a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing.
No, it's not they don't know what they're doing. It's just was it the right advice for this particular moment? I think is what EJ's saying. It's it's all good advice for other aspects of your career, but maybe for the draft process, was it the right type? Was he getting the right information? JT is in Atlanta. Good morning, JT. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Thanks for taking my call. Maggie, you got me messed up this morning because I hear you saying the fact that, if he goes on and has a good career or does something, it's like there's going to be egg on the face of the NFL, which seems a little ridiculous to me. It's like saying, like, you went out on a date and the whole time that your date is farting and picking their nose, chewing with their mouth open, wanting you to, pay for the bill. It's just being obnoxious the whole time, right? And then later on, they end up with a good job or succeed somewhere in life, and you're like, oh my gosh, I really messed that one up. No, you didn't.
Right.
When you went out with them,
right.
They were obnoxious.
Right.
That wasn't the right move, and you would have never made that choice based on what they presented to you when you guys were out. So how could you have ever known that they were going to hit the lottery later on? You didn't miss out on that. That wasn't a bad decision on your part. You made the right decision based on the information you had at that time. It's not egg on your face. It's like,
JT, I totally get what you're saying, and I'm actually glad you used the dating comparison there, because this is something that women actually do go through when you are out there on the market, Pearl. You got to see the potential. Chris Rock has a great line about this. Woman got a hold of you, wipe the crust out your eyes. You got to see through the stuff, the farting and the picking of the nose, and say, does this person actually have the qualities that I'm going to want in a partner? And yeah, you're right. Like, Shedeur obviously didn't represent himself well, JT. And so teams were totally within their right to pass. And thank you for the call. But you got to also see what's underneath. Is there really a good person under there? Is there a good, and for football, not for dating, is there someone who can help me win under there? And that's what you're always trying to find. And I think the evaluation for Shedeur that didn't help him is that I think a lot of people saw him as, maybe he could be a starter in the league, but is he winning playoff games for me? I don't think they saw that.
Well, yeah. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
Yeah. And also, too, with these older quarterbacks, I think a team like Cleveland, if they'd taken him at number 2 or he would have had to start immediately, and the team looked at him and said, like, we're not ready to go with him.
Yeah, no doubt. Rich in California. Hey, Rich, good morning.
Good morning. I'm certainly seeing some parallels between LeBron and Bronny and Dion and Shedeur. And to be really honest with you, if I'm an NFL owner, do I really want that kind of grief visiting me? Yeah, maybe he is a good quarterback. Is he good enough for me to put up with that nonsense? He better be the second coming of Johnny Unitas if that's the case.
Well, it depends on what your definition of nonsense is and how high a threshold is, right? Because there's some teams that will put up with a lot of really serious things, Rich. You know what I'm talking about. The guys who have arrests or guys who have really tough things in their past. You got to make that calculation. Shedeur, he's definitely flashy. Certainly didn't come off well in interviews. That's up to each individual team, right? What the threshold is.
Yeah, but the same token, the guy, if you're going to put up with that, then you're going to put up with that. You better have something a little bit more than a slightly better than average quarterback in a poor quarterback class.
Right.
And that's just simply it. The fact that he fell where he fell, if I were Shedeur, I would simply take it as saying, okay, this is what they think of me. Now, what can I do to change that mind? And it might have been a whole lot better if maybe Shedeur had gone to another college besides the one where his dad is the head coach. It gets a little tiresome when dads become little league coaches at the D1 or pro level.
Yeah, Rich, thank you for the call. I think that's Monday morning quarterbacking this thing, because I don't think you actually did bring it up.
Yeah, Pearl, I think that's the number one issue. That he's never played for anyone but his dad. It's definitely on the NFL's mind.
But if he had actually gone in the second round, we wouldn't have been saying that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the fact that he fell out of the first round, I think, is the story. I think they were a little concerned, and I get it. He never had another coach, and so you don't know how. It's an unknown. You will admit that. Totally. Maybe it's nothing, but yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. Of course, he should have. Gotten underneath out of Deion Shadow. He should have played somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess I think we're saying that now.
Yeah, no, I would say that in terms of NFL. As far as a college player, that would have been silly for him to leave. He built a program at Jackson State, built a program in Colorado. It was kind of awesome. But for the NFL would have liked to seen him transfer and play a year under another coach. Don't you think? Ideally, to see what it would have been like.
Yeah, again, now we know that. When he was being mocked to go to the Giants at 3, nobody was saying that. Do you see a lot of parallels? Rich brought this up between Bronny, James, and Shedeur Sanders. I don't really see the parallels.
It's kind of the
there.
opposite.
Yeah, LeBron.
Bronny was helped by being LeBron's son.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
LeBron actually was effective in getting Bronny drafted. Deion, this didn't work.
Bronny went 3 rounds ahead of Shedeur.
Yeah.
Technically.
888-710-4ISM, 888-710-4476. Wake up, everyone in the Bay Area. We've got news for you. It's about a star player, and it's about a contract. Woohoo. We'll tell you about it next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com, not available in all states. All right, Maggie, you teased it. Let's drop the big news in the Bay Area.
All right, well, Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got the headlines for us. He's got the latest. Guys, we've all been waiting on the 49ers to announce a contract extension with...
George Kittle?
George Kittle gets paid today. Brock Purdy, you got to sit and wait. Bogues, what's the details?
This is good enough, I think, for now. It is a 4-year extension for the tight end, $40 million guaranteed. And Kittle is now the highest paid at his position, proving once again that title is completely useless because I think Trey McBride had it for like 17 days. We've also flipped highest paid non-quarterback about 6 times this offseason.
And we will again once Michael Parsons gets paid, we think.
But the big thing is here, this is not going to be Brandon Ayuk. Brock Purdy still may be that drama-wise, but Kittle is done and signed, and that's it for him with San Francisco.
It's shocking that San Francisco got a deal done before training camp. This is generally not their style. This one got done pretty early.
And weren't we told last week that they were very far apart?
We were told that he didn't show up to the voluntary team activities because of the contract, then he refuted it. Here's my question. Kittle's the man. He's great. 31 years old, signing up for another 4 years. Now, I bet it's not really 4 years, and all the money looks like it's up front.
Definitely.
It's very up front. I think the signing bonus is huge, so it probably, when push comes to shove, if they could get out of it next year, they probably could without a huge penalty.
$35 million up front and then $5 million next year.
Right. So, I mean, here's the thing, too, about Brock Purdy. If he does sign, that's not going to kick in till not this year. It'll kick in next year. So it wouldn't really compete, I guess, with this contract.
I mean, Kelsey has killed it between ages 31 and 35. Kittle's a little more injury. That's a question. Is Kittle more like Gronk, whose body could not last to that age, or is he like Kelsey? Because maybe a tight end you can last that long. It's not a speed position.
To be fair, Kittle's played a lot. So 15 games last year, 16 year before, 15 year before, 14. Then 2020 he only played 8 games. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a big physical guy. But if you're a tight end, you just basically go and you either box out a safety or you're still faster than a linebacker. So I think he could be good. For you, this seems fine, right? Like, is anybody? I'll bet you some people think, "Oh, Kittle's washed. What are they doing?" But I'm okay with that.
I mean, for another year, it's probably it's not going to kill you. But it's tight there around San Francisco. Like, we're being told, money's tight. Yet we have no Brock Purdy signing.
It's actually, you're being told money's tight, or you're also being told they don't want to spend. Like, the owner does not want to put cash spending out. He's sick of it. So I don't know how tight it really is. But then again, $35 million. It's funny that McCaffrey and Kittle, they can pay them no problem. It's everybody else that seems to be a problem.
Yeah, right. And everyone's got to wait, including guys like Nick Bosa and Trent Williams and people like that.
I did think. I thought Deebo Samuel was showing his age. I did not think Kittle was. So I'm excited about this. I mean, we're going to do it all offseason, but there's a lot of debate. Are the Niners still in that mix of contenders, or are they already out of this?
Well, I think you must have been pretty happy with their draft because you've talked about how the defense has been the biggest problem. No doubt.
Yeah, did you see the owner, Jed York, got on social media? It's like, we got Saleh now. Like, treating him like it was a secret weapon that is going to reinvent the NFL defense. So maybe that'll be the trick.
They took Michael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia, with the first round. They went defensive tackle, Alfred Collins, in the second round. They went linebacker, Nick Martin from Oklahoma State, in the third round.
Right.
The other third-round pick they had 4 top 100 picks.
Yeah.
They went cornerback from Western Kentucky, Upton Scouts. So then even in round 4, another defensive tackle. They went wide receiver in the 4th round with Jordan Watkins from Ole Miss, and then a running back in round 5, safety, and then that Curtis Rourke pick that you talked about before.
Yes.
Offense was not the thing in this draft for the 49ers, what I'm getting at.
But they had one pick that I love, and I don't remember his name. Give me the 6th-round guy, small school, because I heard
the quarterback from Western the corner from
there's an FCS,
Western Kentucky, that was round 3.
There's an FCS player. I'm so sorry because I saw
Kansas State?
No.
It's not FCS.
Junior Bergen, wide receiver, Montana.
Round 7.
7th round. I'm like, okay, that seems like throwaway pick. Had 8 kickoff returns for touchdowns in college. Would have been the national leader, but he didn't count in the FBS. And what have I always said is the Niners' biggest problem? Special teams. So they got a kid named Junior Bergen. This is all from Todd McShay. McShay, actually, they got a lot of B's and C's and D's for their draft. McShay said they did an awesome job. So I'm going to go with that. But I think that they immediately helped. Then again, they're
Can
rookies.
He kick field goals?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But wasn't that guy hurt last year? I'll give him the.
They all got hurt, remember, because they couldn't stop making tackles in the open field.
They signed him,
or Debo was choking them out.
The Niners listen to me because they signed a bunch of special teams players. That is the key to that team right now. I'm telling you right now, they would have been in the playoffs last year.
How many people do you think the Niners listened to over the course of the last season before they got to Perloff?
Yeah,
is the number under like 700?
Listen,
7,
we are
000?
on in KMBR. We're on in the Bay Area.
You think
they're all getting to work early?
You think they listened at all to him after 700 or 7,000 people?
They're crowdsourcing, man. Kyle Shanahan wants all the answers.
Listen, John Lynch was in the media.
That's very true. John Lynch is, yeah.
We can't figure out. We're not in the Super Bowl. Let's check in with Perloff. He'll have the answers.
Special teams.
It's by Luke Gifford, Richie Grant, Luke Farrell, and the new long snapper, John Weeks. Like, they put all their resources in special teams, which reminds me of Jordon Hudson's boyfriend, Bill Belichick.
Oh.
Like, this is smart. That, to me, that was their biggest problem last year, of the 3 units, the 3 phases of football, as Kyle Shanahan, who's listening right now, agrees with.
Good morning, Kyle, and only Kyle.
Yeah, or also over Ryan Poles. So they were going to be looking offense, special teams, and defense.
Ooh, and defense. Outside the box. Yeah. Good morning to the 49ers. George Kittle has now been extended through at least another year or 2. Bogusch, what else is happening?
Well, on a somewhat lesser scale than that, we've got the Browns getting Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur some help yesterday. Cleveland signing wideout Deontay Johnson to a 1-year deal.
That'll fix it.
You'll remember that Johnson began last season with the Panthers, was traded to the Ravens, and then cut in December after refusing to play in a game. The Texans, for some reason, signed him around Christmas, but dumped him in January after Johnson pouted on the field about his targets during a playoff game.
I have a question, sorry, but just quickly about the Browns. Does Shedeur get in a press conference?
Well, he had the press phone call after he got drafted. I don't know if they're doing more than that.
But they've got to have some kind of OTA soon, and he's going to be there for that.
That's going to happen, rookie minicamp.
Right. Which might be this weekend, which might be what they're just waiting. Like, then they'll do that one there. Knowing it was coming soon, the conference call was good enough for this past weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if any day 3 picks.
Did anything come out of that conference call?
Yeah. I mean, there was sound. Yeah.
He explained accepting the apology from Jack
Solbrick.
Yeah.
Okay. They prank called him.
Yeah.
He also said that he knows he can improve on things when they asked him about if there were any regrets.
Got it. Okay. So not really. But Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland.com is going to join us in the 9 a.m. Eastern hour.
Guys, it is the most lopsided playoff series in NBA history. 122 points separate the Cavaliers and Heat in Cleveland's 4-game sweep, mostly because those Cavs won by 55 last night in South Beach, 138-83. After winning Game 3 in South Beach by 37 points Eric Spoelstra is out of culture.
Obviously, we didn't play well, and we didn't meet any kind of level from there. But they left us behind these last two games.
Last night began 70-25. The lead got to 60 in the fourth quarter before finishing as tied for the fourth largest blowout in postseason history. The Cavs now wait on the Bucks-Pacers winner. Indy can wrap things up in Game 5 tonight. Milwaukee confirming yesterday a torn left Achilles for Damian Lillard. He needs surgery, of course, and could miss the majority of next season because of this. Now back to last night. No rout in San Francisco. The Warriors pulling out a 109-106 win over the Rockets. Now lead that series 3-1. Houston head coach Ime Udoka says it's not as bad as it sounds.
Guys are down, but they understand that the game we played well. The one game out of the four, we had a blowout win. In other games, it's been a one-possession game a lot of times, or we had a fourth-quarter lead and haven't really played that well. So consistency wins in the series. We've talked about that from day one, and we have to be way more consistent across the board.
The Warriors had Jimmy Butler back last night, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in 40 minutes after sitting out Game 3. On playoff ice, the Dallas Stars could not have started better, tied at 2 games all with the Avalanche.
Another raucous sellout crowd here at American Airlines Center. Puck is dropped, and we're underway for Game 5. Sent in, Stars on it, shot, score! Immediately! Wyatt Johnston, 9 seconds in. Welcome to Dallas indeed.
That, of course, from Stars Radio, Wyatt Johnson scoring the fastest goal in playoff history. As you heard, in just 9 seconds, he scored again, had an assist in Dallas's 6-2 win for a 3-2 series lead on Colorado. The Panthers rallied for a 4-2 win and a 3-1 lead on the Lightning. In baseball last night, the Dodgers blew a 5-1 lead. Were down 6-5, entering the bottom of the 10th, but scored twice to beat the Marlins 7-6. The Braves, 6-3 winners in Colorado. Those pesky Rockies are now 4-24, and the Reds win streak is 5 after a 3-1 home win over the Cardinals. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks. A couple things. One, I was thinking about this with we have seen some blowouts in the NBA playoffs, which is not rare, or it's not uncommon, in the first round. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, they want to expand this league to add 2 more teams. Are we sure? I think we have enough talent to fill that out. There are a lot of really talented guys, but I'm looking at the Lakers, for example, did not go to their bench in the entire second half of a game. The Nuggets have done something. Sometimes they do that a little bit too. They won't really go deep into the bench if they feel like they're in a tight. We have enough talent for 2 more teams, right? Right?
I think they do need to expand, but there's something going on with the roster construction. There are a lot of teams that are super top heavy.
Was this? I mean, you
Lakers,
still are
Knicks,
incentivized to tank, I guess. I don't know, but I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, nobody from the Lakers could get into the game in the second half. You had a 10-point lead on the road, so I get you want to protect that. You couldn't give LeBron James any kind of rest. You didn't feel like Dalton Connect hasn't played in the series. I mean, barely. And that's just one example. Was anyone else thinking about this? No?
I mean, I thought about it with baseball, too. Like, baseball does not need more teams.
Yeah,
they're
expanding also.
Yeah, they certainly want to.
No, it's happening. Vegas, I guess they're moving. But yeah, they want to add teams.
But NBA's got, 30? I feel like 32 feels still like a safe number. I don't know. Because the NFL's got 32. That's not going to kill it, is it? Isn't that sort of small enough an expansion that it's not going to alter the entire face of the league?
I feel like you need so many guys to get through an NFL season because of the physicality of it. Like for the NBA, like the guys are just load managing. It's like a choice.
The NBA, the problem is I think once you're like slightly, teams kind of feel like they give up a bit more so than in my memory they used to when I was a kid. But that might be like load management and like once you're like slightly hurt, you're like screw it, I'm I don't know. Just sit out the rest of the season.
I just feel like the Wizards, the Pelicans, the Hornets exist in complete obscurity. And we're going to throw 2 more teams on the bottom of this?
I think the problem, too, is that these teams get hurt and they get decimated. Like the Pelicans, for example, are a team that had talent. I mean,
that's true.
Perloff talks about all the time how much he loves to watch Zion. Like, they're a team that, if healthy, should win 35 to 40 games. But then multiple teams just lose 6-7 guys.
Well, then the other part is you end up having to pay guys these insane amounts, these contracts that I'm going to say they're not worth it, but they're terrible the moment that the contract gets signed.
Well, the second aprons also screwed things up too, because now you can't really get to a certain number unless you don't want to make any other moves. Like the Suns are locked into their roster because they're in the second apron, so that's another problem too.
Yeah, a little bit more into the roster construction. Also, I get kind of criticized sometimes on the show being a little heartless. Sometimes I'm not very sentimental. I wish Bogusch a happy anniversary because he put it out on social media. 18 years with Mrs. Bogusch, and Perloff said, "I would never say that to another man."
Yeah,
I thought about it, and I that's why I did not say anything. I didn't know if that was.
You guys can't congratulate each other on anniversaries, or is it more like a knowing glance, like 18 years? Good job out of you.
Absolutely, it's a non-thing.
I'm pretty sure Manny said it yesterday. I think. Is Manny here today?
Hey,
Somewhere,
Manny.
right?
He's
Yeah.
back there.
Okay.
Manny, trading Connor.
Yeah. I think Manny said it. So Manny's an adult. But, Perloff never had been more dismissive when Maggie brought it up. Like, I'm a man. I don't care. Next question.
It's funny because I actually have someone in my life who's my friend's husband who apparently must have our anniversary date like saved in his phone or something and does wish my husband and I a happy anniversary every year.
Like
It's
via
a dude.
text?
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be more inclined to like or comment on a post, which
Right.
I may have done. I
As
don't
opposed
remember.
to reaching out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not something that I don't think I do it for like a woman either.
Pearl, you're very consistent on this. Perloff doesn't wish anyone a happy birthday.
No, I'm a guy. That's like a girl thing, right?
I don't know.
I
You
wish
guys
my
tell
homies
me.
happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday. If you see him and you know it's your birthday, you say happy birthday. But like, you're not like actively planning, like, oh my God, it's Billy's birthday next week. What are we going to do?
You don't text a friend.
I don't know. No.
I think it's a must-text situation.
Definitely.
But I'm also female, so I'm living under a totally different set of social rules.
I text my good friends on their birthday. Yeah, I do that, but I don't like make it like a federal holiday or anything.
No, that's not what we're saying. Like literally just a text goes, happy birthday, bud.
When Sarah's, my wife's friends, it's her birthday, like then that's like a thing. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, happy birthday, bud.
Yeah, we're not
But I've
making
never
plans.
texted a friend happy anniversary.
You don't have birthday plans for your friends?
Well, they make them. I don't make them for them.
We're also too old for that, EJ. You're still nice and young, and you can go to like bars at night or whatever.
And do things.
Yeah.
Me at bars. Not happening.
Anyway, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much,
18
Maggie.
years. 18 years. That's an awesome achievement.
I'll send another clapping emoji.
Did in your phone, are there any guy friends who texted you and said happy anniversary?
No.
Yeah,
which is
of course
fine.
not.
But people responded, like commented on an Instagram post. If I saw somebody physically, I
They
would have
might
said
say
happy
it.
anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a couple very notable things that happened at our wedding that I feel like some people who, when they see I don't really post a lot of personal stuff, but when it comes around, it's like, oh yeah, that's the night that I ripped my pants open on the dance floor. Like you'll always remember certain things. It's a fun
It
night.
goes right there. I'm like, happy anniversary, like, is the same as, oh, that's a great looking pizza, like. Like, that's like, yeah.
Same in your view.
Same.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, Bogusch, are you mad at this? That I'm not excited about your 18th year anniversary? You're looking at me like this is like a problem.
I was taken aback by how little you cared in front of me.
Your anniversary. It's all anniversaries. That's like the classic thing. The guys
It felt personal. I was sitting
the
right.
thing
You
with-
didn't even look at
You
me.
guys ever watch Married with Children? Husbands aren't even supposed to remember the anniversary. That's like a
You think that's real life?
Yes.
Al Bundy?
yes.
That's your muse?
Yes, I think that's a lot closer to real life than you people.
You know what's so funny, though?
Yes.
How big is your wife's hair? What leopard print unitard is she wearing today?
Married with Children is a model for the Perloff household.
It is a documentary. It's a documentary, people.
It's my muse.
This is so funny because now we've been doing the show for 4 years, and Perloff, without a doubt, before your anniversary, and I want to say before your wife's birthday, is always coming in day of, what am I getting her?
Yeah, like every other
panic.
guy on planet Earth. Like, yeah, that's a thing.
Sure.
I mean, a million sitcoms have made this joke. It can't be out of nowhere.
It's real life for you.
It gets harder
Real
and
life for
harder as the year.
everybody.
It gets harder as the years go on too.
Yeah, I know. It's harder to keep coming up with stuff.
Once you get kids, like presents are really tough. For like the spouse gets forgotten.
Yeah, well, forget it. Mother's Day's coming up, so we got another one. Another
Oh yeah, when is that bad boy?
obstacle course for you guys soon.
Two Sundays from now, I think. right?
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah, and I have a best friend whose birthday is like on Cinco de Mayo. So then
Ooh, that's fun.
My daughter's birthday is that day too.
That's
a
really
great
cool.
day to have a birthday.
It's not really, Maggie, when you become a dad and the doctor's like, hey, man, 18 years from now in college, this is going to be a fun birthday. I'm like, you're fired.
Who's your doctor? Dr. Nick?
He was actually a really cool guy. So, like,
Dr. Hugh Hefner? What happened?
He was joking around. I'm like, this is not the time. I've had enough dad fears about having a daughter. I don't need to be reminded what's going to happen when she turns 18, 19 on Cinco de Mayo in college. No thanks.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Do men wish each other happy anniversary? Yes, no. Okay, lots to do, including, want to get to this. Crazy sound. But was the person in the wrong or in the right? Tell you about it next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Believe Biloti's got something to say. Infinity's mice. He's feeling the dismay. No NBA on NBC. What a shame. Just JJ Redick's wine ain't the same. Peter Bellotti is getting upset. Maggie Perloff, can you hear his plea? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Set his spirit free. He misses Ma. Co-stars and the crew, those were the days. Pete cries out, boo, boo. Bring it back, oh can't you see? Bring back the NBA on NBC. Let it be. Pete's mad, he's feeling sad. Bring it back, oh make it right. Believe Biloti's got something.
Manny and EJ, they're diehard Knicks fans. Living in the Big Apple, they're part of the grand plan. But they just witnessed a crushing defeat. 76ers taking the victory, man. That's hard to beat. Sitting in the studio, talking about the game. Maggie and Perloff, it ain't all the same. Perloff's a Philly fan. It's hard to stand when your team's on top and your heart's in your hand. Man, Manny and EJ, they're lost and confused. Knicks played hard, but it wasn't what they used to. Every missed shot, every turn, oh, they saw leaving them shocked. They can't believe what they're in for. Manny and EJ.
Bogusch weeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. Can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembanyama. Perloff could fall.
1 minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Maggie and Perloff Show. Get to some sound from Buffalo Bills GM Brandon Beane in a minute. Perloff and I also do not agree on whether Seattle is the right place for Jalen Milroe. But first we get to Jay in Nashville. Jay, what's up, dude?
First of all, okay, two things. As far as the expansion, NBA, Seattle Supersonics need a team again. We need to see Supersonics again. You know what I mean? Especially for people on the West Coast, man. That used to be like an all-time rival. L.A., Seattle, and then you had Sacramento and stuff like that. And as far as another team, Nashville, we need an NBA team. You know, Memphis can keep the Grizzlies. We don't want them. Because, like, Nashville is the type of team, I don't care if it was a national pickleball team. We would get behind that. I mean, soccer works in Nashville. So, like, give us an expansion team if you're going to do that. And give us an expansion MLB team, too, Major League Baseball. Give us that, too. We'll
Jeez, Jay, you want everything. You've got your Predators. You got your Titans. Now you got Cam Ward in the house. You got Vandy.
Vandy, really?
Diego Pavia? Come on.
Wah, wah, wah. But anyways, no, Nashville is the type of city we get behind anything and everything. That's how we are.
And quickly, I just want to tell people why we were even talking about expansion is because I was asking the guys in the last break, this Heat Cleveland series has been a total walkover. And also the fact the Lakers didn't make a substitution to their starting five in the second half of their last game. Like, do we have enough talent to actually field two more teams in the NBA? That's where it's coming from.
You know, though,
you might be right about that.
Jay, Seattle, I'm 100% with you. That is, of any sport, the city that needs a team is Seattle needs NBA. More than they need anything.
Yeah, I don't know why they even made that decision, but I mean, that's I remember the Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp used to be my favorite player back in the day. And then they had Perkins. Remember, Perkins was the first 7-footer way back. He looked like he got high. He smoked a joint before he played every game, and he used to shoot threes, sit back, get off the bench, shoot threes on people.
Yeah, it's funny how weed works like that for some guys.
Man, weed be letting you know.
I think Sam Perkins' eyes just look like that.
Oh, Sleepy Sam Perkins. Yeah. No, that was just his. That's just his look.
By the way, Jay, there could be Game 6 of the current NBA Finals. If Hardwood Classics is on NBA TV and it's the Sonics Bowl series, I'm watching Hersey Hawkins and Sam Perkins. We are 90s basketball.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. It makes you, maybe we're nostalgic or old, but it's still nothing is like that. That NBC music. Oh, let's
Gary
go.
Gary Payton. I mean, we could do the whole thing. We all want basketball back in Seattle.
Hey, remember the video game we used to play back then? He's on fire. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then Gary Payton went to school with the YMCA moves on the court, and it worked every time, bro. But, hey, Bart, and I don't mean I think I heard AJ, man. EJ, I'm sorry. You ready to say something, or?
Space Jam, NBA Jam. That's the game you're talking about.
He's on fire. And it's funny because, Perloff worked obviously with Dan Patrick for over a decade, and Dan had the He's in Fuego, which is always kind of like a little bit of a spin off of the He's on Fire. Jay, thank you so much. I quickly want to get to Dean, who's in Maryland, who's got a thought on birthdays and anniversaries, asking, do men wish each other happy anniversary and happy birthday? Dean,
hey, Maggie and Pearl.
How you doing?
Hey, Maggie and Pearl, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'd love to wish everybody a happy birthday or happy anniversary. The problem with me is I'm so forgetful that, that's a typical guy stereotype as well. So one year for Christmas, because I'm so poor at this, my sister
got me a calendar and wrote everybody's birthday, anniversary, special day on there. And it still became a problem. But the biggest thing is that just like Pearl, he comes in there for birthdays and anniversaries and is talking about what can I do. I'm a last-minute guy as well. So on Valentine's Day, I'm the guy after work looking for a card. There's none because they're all picked through.
Yes, Dean, you are the guy. Dean, sorry, we're up against at the top of the hour, but you are the guy who has to buy the card that it's like happy birthday and you've crossed out birthday and written in Valentine's Day.
Is that bad? That not allowed?
Well, you're still happily married, so yeah, it's allowed. Turns out. Coming up, the NFL coach or player under the most pressure.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, certainly embarrassing and potentially humbling weekend for Shedeur Sanders, for the Sanders family. We're asking you today, is there any way that Shedeur gets the last laugh here? Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Pearl, is there a world, is there a scenario? I don't know if it's in Cleveland, but is there a world where Shedeur Sanders can turn this thing into an origin story, much like Tom Brady did? Now, Tom didn't have any fanfare around him whatsoever. Shedeur's had all the eyeballs on him, but is there a way he saves this and turns it into a productive career?
Yeah, not in Cleveland. I think that this is the wrong spot for him. I think he's going to have to bounce around a little bit, Geno Smith style, until he finds the right home and the right coaching system. I think it's tough. It's really hard. The NFL is such a binary league when it comes to quarterback. You're either starting or you're not starting. So he's got to find the right spot, the right coach. I think it's going to be hard. You look at guys who've landed on the wrong team, especially teams that are always at the top of the draft, and it just doesn't go well, and it takes a long time to find that spot. And sometimes it never happens. There's probably tons of really good quarterbacks, really talented quarterbacks who just never made it because they never landed in the right place. The guy who jumps to mind for me, Derek Carr's brother, David Carr, was really good. He just got drafted by Houston, wrong spot, and could never find the right home. Maybe he wasn't good. I have no idea. His numbers weren't good, but
He also took 1,000 sacks.
yeah, if you land in the wrong team, it is hard. And I think this isn't about Shedeur's talent. I think he's talented. I think he landed on the wrong team.
So I'm going to disagree, because it's one thing, though, when you land on a team when you're completely stonewalled from actually getting on the field. That's not this situation. The Cleveland Browns, this is wide open as far as I'm concerned. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, these are, it's two totally separate types of players. And then Dillon Gabriel, who was taken in the 3rd round over Shedeur in the 5th round, is a nice player. We like Dillon Gabriel, but, if it's just a head-to-head quarterback competition, Shedeur could easily win that competition. So in some ways, I kind of love this for him. It's up to him now whether he's actually going to take it seriously and he's going to, approach it with the right attitude. But, if he can actually get on the field in a Kevin Stefanski offense, that's the best chance to showcase your skills. If he's buried behind, if all of a sudden the Chiefs took a flyer on him, or, Houston or something like that, he's buried. He's never seen the field.
Right. Well, the Houston quarterback is so young, but the Chiefs would be perfect. Oh, my God. Andy Reid has developed so many backup quarterbacks into starters. That's what I want to see him do. There's a lot. If you're behind, Reid, if you do 2 years there, he's going to be a hot commodity in 2 years.
Right.
Coming out of Cleveland, you're usually not a hot commodity. Like poor Dorian Thompson-Robinson I don't think he was in Cleveland for 2 years and developed not at all. So I just think it's the wrong spot.
No, Baker Mayfield is really the one guy who kind of saved his career after Cleveland.
Yeah. So I think, by the way, Dillon Gabriel will start in this NFL and have a sick game or two. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that there'll be a play. He reminds me of my guy Case Keenum, just a guy who threw 1 million footballs in college, short but incredibly productive. I just feel like he is a guy, he has no pressure at all. And then, because every backup gets his day in the NFL. It doesn't matter. I mean, Shedeur is going to play. Everybody plays. In the NFL, by week 17, you're down to your 4th-string guy.
Oh, and also, did you hear Goodell talking before the draft? Yeah. They're going to 18 games at some point.
They're going to 18 games. I mean, every single player will get their shot. The question is, where do you have the chance to succeed? And I just don't think Cleveland's it. We had a guest on yesterday, Jason Lloyd from The Athletic, who pointed out the offense was third from the bottom last year, and they added nothing. They added Quinshon Judkins, the second worst Ohio State running back, and a third-round tight end. They didn't really sign anybody big. They did nothing. So who are these guys throwing to?
It's a great question. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We have this poll question up on X at Maggie and Pearl. Will Shedeur Sanders get the last laugh over the NFL? Right now it's a resounding no. 81% of you saying absolutely not. I think there's still an avenue. Now, as far as people who are under pressure, certainly the staff in Cleveland, I think, is always under pressure because with that owner, you almost feel like you're just waiting to get fired. Now, obviously, everyone has to be if the owner was the one who really called his shot on Deshaun Watson, which he kind of came out and said he did, right?
Right.
Then I think the owner at some point is going to have to also own the decision to take Shedeur. It feels like it was the owner who was the one who ordered the code red. So maybe the brass there gets a little bit of a pass if it becomes a bit of a circus this year, and then we'll see what happens next year with that extra first-round pick. So I'm not going to put Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in this next bucket. But, Pearl, if I asked you which figure in the NFL, it could be a coach, a general manager, a player, who is coming into the season under the most pressure. Yeah. Now that we've been through the draft, we've been through free agency, who do you think that person is?
I think there's a 1A and a 1B to me, and I'll tell you who the 1A is. There is so much pressure on Lamar Jackson to finally win this year. Interesting. I was watching draft grades. I mean, as always, the Ravens just destroyed the draft. You just know whoever these guys are in the third or fourth round, they're going to be really good, and every team's going to want them in 3 years. If Lamar's got to get over the hump, and you know who my 1B is then. Who's the mirror image?
Josh Allen.
It's Lamar and Josh Allen. You can go many directions. Coaches on the hot seat. You can talk about the Steelers have been stuck in limbo forever, but this is going to be the season where everybody's watching these two guys to say, if you're not going to do it now, then it's going to be never. So to me, we're caught up in the draft and Shedeur right now, but it is soon going to be the season of eyeballs on Lamar. I think Lamar number 1 and then Josh Allen number 2 in the same vein. It's like, it's time, guys. Like, what are we waiting for? The Ravens just killed the draft again. They got 2 probably immediate contributors on defense. The defense is going to come back. They got to win the Super Bowl. They got to get to the Super Bowl this year.
Okay. Well, but the Ravens, what did they add on offense? DeAndre Hopkins? Guys, no.
They don't need to add anything. Their offense is awesome.
No, I know, but you're saying like it's been now or never for them, right? And we have some sound from Brandon Beane, if you're talking about the Bills side of this, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, who is clearly feeling the pressure because he kind of unloaded on these morning show hosts in Buffalo for, in my opinion, not the right tactic here, but we'll get to that in a sec. But these guys are MVPs who need to win, no doubt.
But you say where they had off. Baltimore's offense wasn't just number 1 in the league last year. It was number 1 by a huge margin. And nothing against your Buffalo. Like, I look at Baltimore. Baltimore should have beat Buffalo in the playoffs. Like, they're geared up for instant success. There's no holes on that team where Buffalo got older. Last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year in Buffalo.
Yeah, they won 13 games.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're in the AFC East.
Yep,
that helps. But generally, they were rebuilding last year. Baltimore is not rebuilding. They're here. They have everything. And they added Malachi Starks, who's going to be amazing. Trust me, my Eagles wanted him, the safety. So they have to do it this year.
I feel like it's kind of evergreen because they've won MVPs. If you're asking me who are the people under the most pressure, especially now post-draft, it's got to be the dudes in New York, Shane and Daboll, who ironically were both with the Bills. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are the only ones who really stuck their neck out for a quarterback. Think about that, right? They're the ones who traded back into the first round, Pearl, to get Jackson Dart. Yeah. Who, if you don't think he's got to start at some point this year, you guys are nuts. Unless somehow Russell Wilson turns back into 2014 Russell Wilson, which I don't think is going to happen. You've got to have Dart see the field, or else both of these dudes are cooked. And think about it. So Cam Ward goes 1. No one's going to crush Tennessee for that. He was so obviously far and away the best guy in this class, and they had the number 1 pick, and they kind of fell into it. Dart was the reach, and everyone else waited. Once you get into 3rd-round picks and 4th-round picks, like people don't get fired over 4th-round picks that they took flyers on for quarterbacks. You do get fired if you trade back into the 1st round and the guy stinks.
Well, wait, don't agree with that. 25th pick, there's no pressure. Like, they're clearly, like, if he doesn't work out, they're going to be in the quarterback market next year. They won't even hesitate to take a guy next year.
It's not going to be Shane and Dable who are going to be taking that QB.
Right. I mean, they'll get fired. But generally, though, the 25th pick doesn't mean you're not tied to anything. That's almost like a close to even a backup.
Yeah, but you and I talked earlier in the show about how second-round draft picks, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, are rare because they kind of breathe down the neck of the starter or whatever.
Yeah.
First-rounders, there's something that will always be attached, in my opinion, to first-rounders, an expectation that you're going to be the starter. Not that you're going to be a franchise or, Super Bowl winning player necessarily, but that you're going to be a starter. If Dart comes in and cannot handle it, doesn't look right, whatever, if it looks like it's not a good fit, it will not be Shane and Dable who are making the next pick, because they would have been the ones to give Daniel Jones the money over Saquon. Mistake. I think giving Jones the money was a mistake. We can argue about Saquon. And then, obviously, if you whiff on Dart, you're out.
Well, I mean, I think we took totally different approaches to this question. You kind of did the hot seat pressure, because I think it's pretty clear that Dable's in big trouble here.
Yeah, Shane.
But nobody's going to care when they implode. Like, they are as low wattage an NFL franchise as there is. I'm just saying, are they really? Yes, they're going to get. But I'll tell you, Mike McDaniels, Raheem Morris, Brian Callahan. There are a lot of coaches who are probably in their final year. I got to be honest. Like, there are a lot of coaches who have to win. So, is that really what we're talking about here? Or are we going to be watching? I think Jackson Dart's an afterthought. I think they're probably, let's start talking about Arch Manning with New York. They have to play him just to see if they want to draft a quarterback next year. That's where we are. Honestly, and that's why I didn't totally get them trading back. Like, what do you think Jackson Dart's going to do for you? Do you really think he's going to be a 4-year starter here? If they only win 3 or 4 games next year, then they're in big trouble.
Yeah, but it's all going to depend on how it looks. If they win 3 or 4 games, but it looks like Dart, say he starts the last 5-6 games of the season and he looks like he can hold his own, or it's a little bit better than we think, then I think everyone's going to be safe and they'll keep the continuity, because, look at the defense. Now with Abdul Carter, there's a lot of household names on that defense. Dexter Lawrence, it takes a lot to become a star from that position, and he is one. Kayvon Thibodeau, whatever you think of his pro career so far, guy was a big freaking deal in college, right? And which is why he went 5th overall. And then on the offensive side, you do have Malik Neighbors. He's a jersey seller. He's a guy who you're excited to see. So I think the Giants have all the pressure in the world on them. And the fact that Dart, that they went back up to get him and took this sort of bet on him, it's
yeah, I mean, all those guys were there
time.
Last year, and
What's that?
Those guys were there last year. They're pretty beatable. I don't know. I just can't see this team being very good, or even worse. What if they're like okay, and the team? What if they're 8-9, and then you're staring at this situation? It's like, oof. I don't know. I feel like they'd be better served to just really lose out, start over, because I think it's almost too late for those guys. I think it's really going to be hard. If they play Jackson Dart, what happens if you're 7-10? You play Jackson Dart. Does Dable keep his job?
It depends how he looks, but they will do that, by the way, because when Eli Manning was taken number 1 overall and Kurt Warner was there, they had an above 500 record, and they were going almost a playoff team, and they did the Eli switch because it was like preordained, and they ended up missing the playoffs. I know it did not go over well with some veterans in the building at the time.
Right, but can Dable afford another losing season? I don't think so. I think 7-10, he's out.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Is there someone we're not thinking of? A coach, GM, who is facing some major pressure this year?
Tomlin. Oof.
Definitely.
Yeah, but is he?
I think so. You know who I was thinking about?
You said lifetime contract, not me, but does he have one?
I think if they bring in Rodgers, then there's going to be pressure to win immediately. Obviously. I mean, that's the question is how much pressure? Like, is it or are people like, well, Rodgers is old? I just think that it's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that team.
Can I float a sneaky name I think nobody's probably thinking about? What about Dan Campbell? Not to get fired, but just like if they lose, I think a lot of people still think they're the best team in the NFC. If they have home field again and they lose in the playoffs again, I think there will be thoughts that this guy, like, is he kind of like a postseason choker, like Kyle Shanahan?
If it's another number 1 seed and then you fall to a rookie quarterback, like if it gets as bad as last year, and obviously the injuries did them in, then
I mean, they blew a big
Maybe.
lead to the Niners, and then last year they had,
Yeah.
again, a rookie come in. 3 years in a row, if that happens,
I would argue would you say he's one of the handful of safest coaches in the league, though?
He changed the culture in Detroit,
Definitely.
so he definitely gets the credit for that. He's losing both assistants.
Yeah, I think the expectations have lowered on the Lions, to be honest.
Lowered?
Yeah, definitely. I think their Super Bowl odds are going to be less this year than they were last year.
No, but not the fan base. The fan base is thinking like the Ravens and the Bills, like it's time now. We're knocking on the door. They don't have the quarterback necessarily that's as good as those two teams, but
I don't know. The fan base is probably pretty savvy. I think the national fan base, I think the national media is, they're definitely going to be a little bit down on Detroit because they lost Ben Johnson. And I don't think people are going to look at Detroit as a strong front runner this year. I'm sure it just feels like last year it was Detroit's conference, and this year it's going to be Philly's conference. Everyone and their mother is going to pick the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, which, for better or worse, I think they're coming in a little less wadded. You think it's the same?
I think the pressure is building. Like you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle here pretty quickly. All of a sudden, you go from the basement to the penthouse, and you want to actually see them, go to the Super Bowl. Let's go to John, who's in Western New York. John, you want to talk about Shedeur Sanders, and you have a comp for him. Who is it?
Yes. Well, I think what scared a lot of these owners on taking a swing at drafting Shedeur was because of the nonchalant pre-draft interviews, and he didn't go to the combine. And I think what people saw there was, again, almost like Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football there that went to Cleveland. It seemed like, they want you to come in and act like that it's the number one priority in your life. And I have a feeling that he did not project that. And so with the other few red flags that he had up there, including his size, his release rate that he throws the ball, that I just think that enough people, with these GMs, that because it's the business that it is, because you invest so much into a quarterback, and it does take up a lot of time, that basically, that there were other needs. Pittsburgh's one of them. Listen, Pittsburgh drafted a guy in the 6th round that completed 70% at Kansas or Kansas State, 73% at Ohio State, and he was still sitting there in the 6th and won the national championship.
Won the national title.
And was still sitting there in the 6th round.
Well, John, I think people said, Will Howard, like you had this all-star team around you, and if this had been under the old rules, they were definitely not making the college football playoff after that loss to Michigan. And John, thank you for the phone call. I think that Shedeur and Manziel have one thing in common, and it's only one thing, and that is that they are unique in the sense of they are very flashy QBs. And they were unapologetic about it. I think that's where the comparison stopped. Manziel had a drinking issue. Manziel
we didn't know that, and we didn't know that when he was a draft prospect.
He had he was very charming in all these interviews. He kind of fooled people. It was a very different type of thing. Manziel didn't have a famous father. Manziel had an origin story, Johnny Football, and beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa and being a great college player. But he didn't. I see them as being flashy as the same, but that's where it kind of ends to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the connection. I mean, they're both Browns quarterbacks, so that's different. That's not exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, there does remind me just like the hype and the attention. I mean, Johnny was the most famous quarterback in his class, and Shedeur is the most famous quarterback in his class. So I think that made a difference. I think teams didn't necessarily want the attention, right? With Johnny, a lot of teams are like, nah, we don't want to bring that in the building. Same with Shedeur.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. All right, coming up, we're going to talk to one of our very good friends, Jimmy Traina of Sports Illustrated. He's a media critic. What went wrong with this draft? Because it was unlike any other. Jimmy just spoke with Mel Kiper right before the draft, and Mel had a pretty epic meltdown on the set during the draft. Impossible to ignore. We'll also get his thoughts on Bill Belichick's awkward interview as well. It's the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
A team may have an issue drafting Shedeur Sanders because they don't want to deal with the circus that is Deion Sanders.
Completely false.
Okay. And I'll tell you why, Jimmy. Dion was a great teammate, not only a great player, one of, greatest corner of all time, but a great teammate, great worker, prepared as hard as anybody, worked as hard as anybody, practiced as hard as anybody. Players in the NFL that played with him loved him. He went to the Major League Baseball, and all the Atlanta Brave players in the organization loved him for the work. He didn't come there. He didn't bring any circus.
All right. Well, it turns out our next guest was a little more prophetic than he may have thought. That was Jimmy Traina talking to Mel Kiper on the SI Media podcast, of which Jimmy Traina is the host, and he joins us now. Jimmy, so good to see you. Obviously, the three of us all worked at Sports Illustrated together for a long time, and you talking to Mel before the draft is a fun interview. You guys did a great job. So were you surprised then you're watching the draft unfold? Mel's got the Shedeur evaluation completely wrong, and he was melting down on the set.
Yeah, there was a lot of no one who was ever his first player on his big board ever fell that far, so it became a big story. Was I surprised? Listen, I don't know how anyone can say they weren't surprised that he went in the fourth round. Was I shocked that maybe he didn't get drafted in the first round? No. But on Friday, when he didn't get selected in the second or third rounds, that was pretty telling. Only because when I posed that question to Mel, I thought there'd be a lot of teams who would not want to deal with Dion. But you have like a Jerry Jones out there. There are a few crazy owners who think, we can do whatever we want and we won't be affected by it. So it was shocking he didn't go on Friday.
Jimmy, do you think teams who watched the media outrage after he fell out of the first round and saw the takes and all the tweets and saw the attention that Shedeur was getting and said, no thanks, I don't want him as a backup because of that? Or teams in their own bubble don't care?
I don't think they paid attention to it Thursday into Friday. I think a lot of what's come out is things that happened maybe when he did his interviews. Who knows what happened, combine and all that. Or did he not do the combine? I don't even know because I don't pay attention to that. But
he didn't work out. He was there, though.
Right. So I think that I don't think anyone in the NFL changed their mind from Thursday to Friday. I think their minds were made up already. There was an interesting quote I saw. The NFL people who are in this all have sort of their own agenda because they're tied in with agents, they're tied in with GMs. But I saw something from Matthew Berry, of all people, who everyone knows as a fantasy football guy, not an NFL insider who's plugged in. He's a fantasy football guy. And he had something back in March where he wrote that two different NFL, I don't remember, I apologize if it was coaches or GMs, independently had said to him, like, Sanders was a disaster. So Matthew Berry doesn't have an agenda there to put that out there. So obviously people inside the NFL, for whatever reasons, had major issues with Shedeur Sanders.
Jimmy Traina is joining us. He's a writer and a media critic for Sports Illustrated. He hosts the SI Media podcast. And, the Shedeur Sanders story became like this media story. First of all, because I don't remember a time where the draftniks, the insiders, were so off on the evaluation. I mean, round 1 to maybe 2 versus round 5 is just not a type of fall that we're used to seeing. But Jimmy, and I'd love to know your thoughts on why that is, but one place where Perloff and I are really disagreeing, and we'll go back to Mel Kiper on this one because he's such a huge figure associated with the draft. Do you think Mel did damage to his reputation over the weekend, or do you think it was compelling TV and that the people at ESPN are fine with the fact that he was loud wrong about where Shedeur was going to go?
I think it was compelling TV. And what I wrote on Monday in my column was the two most talked about people from the NFL draft were Shedeur Sanders and Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper was talked about more than Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, anybody else. In terms of, so I found it compelling television. There was at one point it was like Reese Davis and Louis Riddick against Mel in a handicap match, basically from the WWE.
Yeah.
So it was great. In terms of his reputation, I mean, maybe I look at this differently. I didn't think he was like a great what's his track record of getting things right? I mean, but I feel that about every single person who does mock drafts. Sorry, Perloff. I don't like.
Yeah,
to
but
me,
Jimmy,
all
aren't they
have
getting?
zero.
They're getting better though. I mean, like this is like Mel Kiper's kind of feels like he's caught in 20 years ago, where draft guys just threw whatever out. Now, like,
what?
all these
Whose
guys
mock draft had Sanders going in the 4th round?
a lot of mock drafts knew Sanders was falling out of the first. I mean, that was,
but not fifth.
Okay,
but fifth. But people
Right.
don't do a mock past the first round anyway. But I mean, like you look at, I'm just like. It did feel to me like McShay, Daniel Jeremiah, Peter Schrager, our buddy, feels like they're a little more plugged in their mock drafts, where Kiper feels like he sticks to his guns of whatever Mel Kiper thinks.
Well, they may be more plugged in,
Right.
but that doesn't mean they get it all right. I mean,
But they're getting more accurate year by year on mock drafts, because I follow these like scientifically on the huddle.
well, what do you mean by accurate? Are you talking
They get more
about
picks right. Like they generally are pretty close. The mock drafts are fairly accurate these days.
So all those guys you mentioned had the Browns trading the 2nd pick to the Jaguars?
No, but they all knew Travis Hunter was
so there
going
you
number
go.
2. I mean, now guys are getting 8 to 15 first round. Everyone pretty much knows who's going in the first round. 20 years ago, Jimmy, when you and I started SI, it was a wild scene. Like people did, mock drafts were quite inaccurate. It does feel like there's now a connection. The writers are calling all the GMs and getting more information. I don't know. Mel Kiper, it felt like Mel Kiper was way off this time.
Well, clearly there's something there with Mel and Dion. I mean, I do think it's interesting. Mel's taking all the hits. I think basically all of sports media embarrassed themselves more so 2 years ago than last year in the coverage of Dion. I mean, Fox was sending their pregame show to Colorado when they weren't even airing Colorado games. ESPN, Louis Riddick and Mark Jones were rooting for Colorado during games. SI made Dion the sports person of the year. So every single entity in sports media embarrassed themselves with their coverage of Dion. And they all wanted Shedeur Sanders to go high in the draft and become a big thing because they were in bed with them basically for the last 2 years. I don't see how anyone could dispute that. The coverage of Shedeur, Dion in Colorado was embarrassing for 2 years. And I don't know. I think it's maybe in the social media era, but like I remember in my younger days, like what mattered was winning. Winning doesn't seem to matter anymore. Like I heard someone talking about Dion as a coach. Oh, well, he put them on the map. They got national TV exposure. They drew ratings. What about winning? Does that matter or that doesn't count anymore?
Well, I mean, to be fair, they were in the top of the Big 12 by his second year. So not winning a national title, not making the 12-team national playoff, but doing more winning than Colorado had done.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. He changed everything in Colorado, but he went 4-8 and 9-4 and lost in the Alamo Bowl. I mean, okay.
Right. It's definitely weighted because it's Dion. Jimmy Traina is joining us. He's a writer and sports media critic. His podcast is called the SI Media Podcast, and he had a big interview with Mel Kiper right before the draft, and Mel, kind of became one of the big stories here because he had Shedeur just as his best player on the board. Not best quarterback, right? It was like number 1.
Right.
And then Shedeur doesn't go until pick 144. Jimmy, forecast for us, and I want to get to Belichick in a second, but forecast for us what this is going to be like with the Cleveland Browns now this offseason, and how is the media circus going to surround that franchise?
Well, this is one where this one's not on the media. I mean, this is on the Browns because how could it not be a circus? You still have the Deshaun Watson situation, which he's hurt, he's not playing, he has the contract, he hasn't been cut. I mean, Perloff, you guys probably know way more about like everything I hear. He's not playing, but they're not going to cut him. He goes, so that's a circus. And then you're going to bring in Shedeur Sanders, who's got Dion there, and Dion's going to butt in and get involved. No, he was drafted after Dylan Gabriel, so like the whole thing is bizarre. If I was in Cleveland as a writer or a radio host, I'd be like, you're in heaven right now.
Maggie, what did you want to ask about Bill Belichick? Because Jimmy and I have been laughing at Bill Belichick's interviews for 20 years. It's like, this is
I call Perloff a conscientious objector to this story, and I'm not allowing him to opt out of Belichick because I think this is a huge story, and Belichick, it was already huge him going to college.
Right. No, you mean going to North Carolina is a huge story, not the TBS interview.
Well, Belichick keeps making it bigger and then acting like it's not. So he does this very awkward interview with CBS Sunday Morning, and everyone's like, Maggie, Belichick only does awkward interviews. This is not 60 Minutes. Okay, I said when CBS Sunday Morning knocks at the door, you don't go to start shredding documents in a paper shredder like 60 Minutes. These are puff pieces. And Belichick's girlfriend, Jordon Hudson, who's very involved and posts everything on social media, Jimmy, she's interjecting into the interview apparently multiple times. My question is, Bill's done thousands of interviews. He's dodged questions that are way more serious. Why do you think he dodged the question, how did you two meet?
Because the entire thing is ridiculous. He's 73 and she's 24. That's why he dodged the question. And he's trying to, listen, I hate even discussing this story because nobody can discuss this story the way they want to discuss the story. Here's what the truth is. The whole thing is bizarre, creepy, and totally screwed up. But you can't say that because people say, mind your own business. What do you care? They're in love. People can do what they want. Blah. So you're not allowed to say that. But here's what I would say about this story. Every single person, including the three of us who have talked about this story publicly, it's not even close to how we talk about it when we're private.
Well, that's our own conversations, Jimmy, that will remain private.
So I hate this story because you can't be real about it. Because even I said, I don't know, I tweeted something about this last week and someone's like, what do you care? Leave them alone. Why do you care about their relationship? Okay, well, they're public figures. So we observe everything in the pop culture, public sports world. And it's ridiculous that they're dating. And
Jimmy, he's the greatest coach maybe of all time. I think it's fair game.
Well, what's fair game?
His relationship. It's not like they're trying to hide it. It's on social media. She's posting about it all the time. She's walking around in North Carolina practices.
Yeah, right. But it all starts with the fact that why is a 73-year-old and a 24-year-old dating? That's where it all starts.
Yeah.
It can't be because of the conversation.
There's no good way that's
because of right.
Yeah.
So the interesting narrative that I do think may end up coming out of it, because I've already seen it in a couple of places, is maybe, and I never believed this for 1 second. I always said Belichick was the greatest head coach of all time, but maybe there is something to, without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick doesn't really know what he's doing completely. Oof. I mean, they've had zero success without Brady. And then after a career built on nothing but keeping the press out of things, not giving the press anything, and telling his players, don't be on social media, don't do anything. And now he's taking Instagram photos on the beach with a 24-year-old, and she's his PR person, and she's on the field at practice. So if you don't think there's something, here's what I will say too. At some point, whether it's in a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, like the full story is going to come out. And it's going to be tremendous.
Jimmy, real quick, Maggie and I have a long-standing debate. Probably our number one debate on the show is how much is Tom Brady involved in the nitty-gritty of the Raiders team building? You've covered Tom closely. I know interviewed him because of Fox. Do you think Maggie thinks that it's really has his full fingerprints? I think it's a little pulled back. He's not grinding tape of the North Dakota State left tackle. Where do you land?
Well, I was so bummed he wasn't in the draft room when they showed the Raiders pick. I was like, where's Tom? But Tom wasn't there, which I don't know if that has something to do with his Fox situation, but I was totally, maybe I'm an idiot, but I was totally expecting him to be in that draft room. I think he's heavily involved. I guess it's a nuanced thing about what it's heavily involved in, but I think he probably played a huge role in Pete Carroll. I'm sure he played a role in Geno Smith. I'm sure he played a role in Afton Jennings. I don't see.
These all feel like Pete Carroll moves, though. There's nothing. What's his fingerprint? Like, there's no Patriot way. Like, what is Tom doing differently than anybody else? What's unique about him as a team builder?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. He's just started doing it. So
it just feels like he's handed over the reins to Pete Carroll. I don't know. I just don't think this is going to be. Maggie thinks Tom Brady's going to bring the Raiders to glory. Not exactly. I don't want to put words.
Well, not right now.
But just like do something.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, it just feels like it'll end up being Jeter 2.0 or Michael Jordan 2.0. I don't think being a great player makes you a great
Wait. What was Jeter 2.0?
Just like he'll be just like every other executive, and maybe he'll dabble. But I don't. And at a certain point, I think because of that, he'll pull back and maybe focus more on the broadcasting. I don't think he's really going to be. But this is. I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from, but I don't think he's really going to get his fingerprints all over this team over the next 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're with Maggie as usual, Jimmy.
Well, listen. I do think it is fun. Like people think like Tom Brady owns the Raiders. Isn't he like a 5% owner or 15, something like that? Like he's not making the ultimate decisions, but because he's Tom Brady, I'm sure the people in the Raiders front office are consulting with him about everything.
Everything. 5th round pick.
Consulting. I think begging for his opinion is probably a little closer to it, but that's how I view it. Jimmy Traina, you can listen to the SI Media podcast. He writes for Sports Illustrated, is a dear friend of the show. Jimmy, thanks for the time and your perspective.
Anytime. Love you guys.
Appreciate that. Let's take a quick break. Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines, and we've got some Brandon Beane sound, the GM for the Bills, getting very defensive with some local radio hosts. Got to hear it to believe it. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You missed our interview with Jimmy Traina. You can always download the Maggie and Perloff podcast. Be so kind as to give us a 5-star review. It's something very small, but it does help us. The free Odyssey app, you can always download it. It's crystal clear, and you can always hit the rewind function. We're also on Sirius XM channel 375. New channel, same awesome show. And our affiliates as well, we love.
I thought you were going to say new channel, who did?
No, all welcome. All welcome. Getting more details here about the Bill Belichick disaster interview from CBS. We'll get to that in a minute, but Bogusch has some headlines for us on all the sports we missed last night.
Guys, the 49ers have crossed one important contract off their to-do list. George Kittle reportedly signing a 4-year extension, $40 million guaranteed. The annual average value makes Kittle the highest paid tight end in the game. Jimmy Butler's butt pain remains unacceptable to Pearl, but it was enough of an issue to keep one of the biggest badasses in the league out of a playoff game. So it was news that Butler was back for Game 4 with the Rockets. 27 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in 40 minutes in a 109-106 Warrior win. Head coach Steve Kerr.
If this were the regular season, he'd probably miss another week or two, but it's the playoffs, and he's Jimmy Butler.
Butler had the most important rebound of the night after Draymond Green forced Alperen Şengün into a miss in the final seconds. He corralled that miss, hit the free throws, and again, a 109-106 win. They go back to Houston with a chance, first of 3 chances, to close out the series. All of that happened after the Cavaliers embarrassed the Heat once again, getting a 4-game sweep with a 138-83 destruction in Miami. 55 points, ties for the 4th largest win in playoff history, and creates the most lopsided series ever. Cleveland plus 122 over these 4 games. A reported new job for Shaq. He's expected to become the GM of Sacramento State's men's basketball team, with Mike Bibby already there as head coach. Plus, Shaq's son plays on the team. That school apparently flush with NIL money. It's moving up to FBS football as well. Playoff hockey, the Stars ran away from the Avalanche for a 6-2 win and a 3-2 series lead, and the Panthers stole a 4-2 win from the Lightning for a 3-1 series edge. Florida scoring the tying and winning goals just 11 seconds apart late in the third period. And finally, the two ends of the baseball spectrum.
Swung on and absolutely crushed to right field. Cruz going back to the warning track. He's a spectator. Long gone to the left of the bullpen. Grand slam, Brandon Nimmo.
That's Pat McCarthy on Mets Radio. Brandon Nimmo, 2 homers, a franchise record-tying 9 RBI in the Mets' 19-5 evisceration of the Nats yesterday afternoon, making them the first team to 20 wins this season. And then there are the Rockies, 6-3 losers at home to the Braves. Colorado is now 4-24. That's apparently the worst 28-game start in National League history.
Yeah, I can't do the math in my head, but I think they're on pace for like 25 wins or something.
They're on pace for the worst record, which we just did last year
with the White Sox. I mean, yeah.
Is anybody following
baseball? Catch the fever.
The Maggie and Perloff home run derby as closely as me, and is anyone realizing the incredible irony of it all?
What's the irony?
That Mike Trout is going to win Manny this whole thing.
Manny doesn't have a microphone right now because he's training Connor.
But I was just laughing. We were all laughing at Manny's choices.
Oh, hey, Manny.
And then Mike Trout is just back to being Mike Trout. And because my team they got like one double in the last 3 weeks. We have not hit a home run forever. We all pick teams. And I'm so frustrated because I don't think the Phillies are going to do it this year. I'm into my home run team. You guys have not been following?
Oh, I'm following. I'm following EJ, who had Aaron Judge.
EJ's a dream team. Forget it.
Well, we got to go. We picked an order from youngest to oldest. So Manny picked Matt Olson. That one's not going great, but the Mike Trout one was inspired. Let's see if he stays healthy.
Olson's actually you guys like idiots counted out the Braves. They're going to be in first place or second place in about a week.
Yeah. How about the don't love the stat first team to 20 wins? It's like
yeah, Phils did this last year.
I love rooting for the Mets. It's a lot of fun, but this is. Don't want to peak too early here.
You don't want to be the front runner. You'd rather sort of be
it's
lingering.
Baseball. We already know how this all works. You got to catch fire at the right time.
Yeah, like the Diamondbacks or something, right?
Okay, Bogusch, thank you so much. I got to get to this because it's, first of all, compelling audio. And secondly, it has to do with the team I root for, the Buffalo Bills. So let's hear Brandon Beane, shall we? He was on WGR Sports Radio 550, legendary in Buffalo. Manny giving it a thumbs up. He was listening into the two hosts talk before he came on as a guest. So first, Brandon Beane upset with the complaints about who's in the wide receiver room.
I was just listening to the last few minutes of your show before I came on, waiting on here.
All right.
Sounds like 2018 all over with you guys.
Well, how so?
Well, you guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. Like, we just hold on, let me talk. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now.
Okay, so Brandon Beane saying we're at this high-scoring offense. Why are you guys complaining? They did make additions to the wide receiver room just in free agency. They didn't do it in the draft. And Brandon Beane goes on to give you more.
You just saw us lead the league in points. When you add all the postseason, no one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show and you got to have something to bitch about, but bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
And shockingly, we actually have even more from Brandon Beane.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills! I invented the piano key necktie! I invented it! What have you done, Derek? Nothing! You've done nothing! Nothing!
And of course, Will Ferrell from Zoolander. I mean, that's what it reminded me of. I took Josh Allen over Josh Rosen. What have you done? Nothing. Nothing. We scored more points than anybody. So it was funny. And Brandon Beane's clearly on no sleep. It's been a long weekend.
That's why he did
That's a no sleep thing. And here's the thing about it. He's right. And I do think that this is how you know the pressure is really building in Buffalo, is because there is actually no reason to be complaining about the wide receiver room. The defense was the issue because Kansas City had not been scoring 30 points a game because their offense was not good last year. And then the Bills came to town in the AFC Championship game, and it was a score fest. Everyone knew they had to add on defense, and that's what they went out and did. It was the right thing to do. But this is what happens, Pearl. When you said Josh Allen is, 1A for most pressure, you get this close, and people are just looking for this mythological thing that's going to put you over the edge.
Yeah.
And what matters is actually coaching in these big moments and Josh Allen making plays in these big moments. Like, that's it. It's not what happens in April.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at this wide receiver group. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Josh Palmer. I think those radio hosts were right. How are you going to win the Super Bowl with that crew?
The wide receiver room is fine. They had less heralded guys last year. Brandon Beane's absolutely right about that.
No offense, but my Birds got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and the Chiefs all of a sudden rebuild their wide receiver room. I get it. It is interesting. How can you score all those points with those scrubby receivers?
Because you have Josh
they're not
Allen.
scrubs.
Yeah, and Josh makes them good. And Josh Palmer, I don't think these guys are
honestly, I
scrubs.
think the best part with the team last year was they gave the ball to James Cook every play.
Right, and now he's in a contract dispute. So
Yeah.
they really didn't add a running back. So I think that was probably trying to send a message to him, like, hey, you're still our guy. But he's right.
It's so funny. I can't even picture. Brandon Beane is quite anonymous, I think, among GMs. And I don't even picture his face. Now he's got a personality.
You've always said having amazing wide receivers does not equal Super Bowl wins. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned your Birds from last year flew in the face of that theory.
Yeah.
You need a great defense. The Bills need help on defense. They did that.
Yeah.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Pine Needles wakes up at dawn, coffee brewing, screen turned on. He's got a favorite show to see, the Maggie and Perloff Symphony. Oh, Pine Needles are tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your life. From highlights to the breaking news, every take you can't refuse. In the chat, he's always there with comments, questions, wisdom to share. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your life. When the games get tough and the stakes are high, Pine Needles knows where to rely on the voices that break it down. Maggie and Perloff never let him down. He's got a playlist all saved up, from epic wins to the close-up. Loyal viewer through and through. Pine Needles, this song's for you. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your life. So here's to the fan, always engaged with every comment, every page. Pine Needles, you're the heart and soul of the Maggie and Pen comments. Pine Needles wakes up at dawn, coffee brewing, screen turned on. He's got a favorite show to see, the Maggie and Perloff Symphony. Oh, Pine Needles are tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your life. From highlights to the breaking news, every take you can't refuse. In the chat, he's always there with comments, questions, wisdom to share. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight.
One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Will we ever live in a world where Shedeur Sanders gets the last laugh here? And the Browns, by the way. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So glad to have you. Listen, it was a stunning fall. We've talked about the reasons why. I think, Perloff, by this time, if you're a big sports fan, you kind of like have your camp. Like, you think he either got totally screwed over and he should have never fallen, or you think, hey, maybe he was bad in interviews. He wasn't an elite arm talent. Deion Sanders was kind of a shadow over this whole thing. And now Shedeur has a lot of cleaning up to do. Is there a world where this has a positive outcome, where everyone comes out here looking like roses?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's possible that he is the first-round talent that Mel Kiper and Ian Rappaport thought he was. But it's also possible, to me, it's just a crowded quarterback room on a team with a coach who could be on the hot seat. This is hardly an ideal setting.
Yeah, the one thing where it's actually, I think, a good thing that he went to the Browns. Browns are where quarterbacks go to die. We all know this. It is impossible to make it out of there, feels like, with like a positive experience, let alone like your career in a better place than it was. But at least he actually could see the field here. Like, he may get an opportunity, because if he went to a place where there's an entrenched starter, okay, yeah, you get to sit and learn, but you may never see the field. You could be in permanent backup territory.
But that's funny. Is that always a positive, to be able to see the field? Because that means your team stinks.
I think guys want to play.
They want to play, right. But a lot of times, yeah, you think that, except that if you're on a bad team, you play and it goes poorly. Whereas you can sit on a good team and be great, like Jordan Love or Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think there's two schools of thought here. Yes, I'm sure Shedeur wants to play. He's probably hyper-competitive like every quarterback.
Okay, well, now Cleveland just got a whole lot more interesting, and they are really good at doing that. They played this game pretty well, but they surprised us. Mary Kay Cabot has been covering the Browns for a long time for Cleveland.com. She's also a contributor to WKYC TV. She's a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. Cleveland.com, and I should mention, and the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And Mary Kay is good enough to join us now. Mary Kay, it's Maggie and Perloff here in New York. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
We're great. I've been a fan of yours from afar for a very, very long time, so it's a thrill to talk to you. I'm curious, of all the crazy things you've seen covering the Browns, where does the fifth-round selection of Shedeur Sanders rank to you?
Well, it's up there, but you must remember, I've seen Johnny Manziel floating around on a swan. I have seen so many things in Cleveland and so many things related to quarterbacks. Of course, we had the whole Deshaun Watson controversy, which we all thought that the people that covered the team, that we were not going to be dealing with Deshaun Watson. And then lo and behold, that thing took a 180 and Deshaun Watson landed in Cleveland. So that was a very, very controversial and crazy time. So it just kind of keeps going on and on and on. But yes, that was up there, probably I'd say in the top 15.
Top 15. That's saying something.
Mary Kay, I listened to your podcast. I listened to a lot this spring to get a sense of, I was actually wondering, are the Browns going to draft Shedeur Sanders at number 2 overall? And I think that was a topic that you had discussed a lot this spring. Was he ever a thought at number 2? It seemed at a certain point everyone moved off of that. But I remember seeing some early mock drafts where when Cam Ward won, Shedeur Sanders number 2. Was that ever anything that we thought might happen?
Definitely, yes. That was something that was in the cards for a while. Everyone really did believe that, at least the draft experts believed, that he was the number 2 quarterback in the draft. And the Browns, if they weren't really serious about it, they sure pulled it off really well, because they spent a whole lot of time with Shedeur Sanders. They went to the East-West Shrine game, had dinner with him there. They brought him in on the first day. You could bring in players for top 30 visits. So it just, and then they took him to dinner the night before his Colorado showcase, spent a lot of time with him there. So this was just a situation where they spent a whole lot of time with Shedeur Sanders, and it did definitely seem like they were interested. But as the process moved along, they became far more interested in Dillon Gabriel at the in the middle of the draft, and maybe looking a little bit more to next year to try to get their first-round quarterback.
And obviously, before the Shedeur thing, the Browns pulled off another stunning move of the draft, which was the trade with Jacksonville. It traded the second overall pick and got Jacksonville's next year's 2026 first-round pick, which I think was lauded by a lot of people. Mary Kay, I'm going to be honest, it was a strange place to be when we liked something that the Browns did, but then obviously the Shedeur thing kind of threw a whole wrench into it. I know that you've listened in and talked to all the major players here, and the moment that's gone viral is Andrew Berry, the GM, his face in the golf clap after they selected Shedeur Sanders. A lot of people read into it like, oh, this was Jimmy Haslam's pick. Maybe this was the owner stepping in. What has your reporting shown about that? Well, to make everything be Jimmy Haslam's pick is sort of low-hanging fruit in Cleveland lore. It doesn't work like that. I find that to be sort of disrespectful to Andrew, who is one of the best GMs in the NFL, because he is making these decisions. And now, when you go back to the Deshaun Watson thing, yes, Jimmy Haslam did step in to make sure that they got the deal done by offering the fully guaranteed aspect of the deal and bumping it up to $230 million. But it wasn't his idea to acquire Deshaun Watson in that trade. That was Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski initiated that. So there's just this narrative that goes around that Jimmy is this meddling owner. He's not Jerry Jones. He doesn't fancy himself, a personnel guy by any stretch of the imagination. So no, I do not think that was Jimmy's decision. I think it was Andrew's decision. They had gotten to know Shedeur really, really well, and I think they kind of wanted to throw him a little bit of a lifeline there. Interesting. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense, like, especially as you mentioned with the Dillon Gabriel pick, to take Shedeur, even if you think it's good value, Mary Kay, and it obviously is good value at pick 144, but the residual of which you've covered a lot of, the circus that's going to come to town is going to make all their jobs harder, not easier, right?
Well, they're used to the circus, like I said before. They're used to it. They're not worried about it. They don't care what the outside noise is right now. They know how to handle. There was probably no bigger, circus is not the right word, but there was no more spotlight on a football team than when they acquired Deshaun Watson. If they can handle that, they can certainly handle a 5th-round pick whose dad is Deion Sanders. This is this is small potatoes, really, to the Cleveland Browns in the grand scheme of everything that's gone on with this football team. So I just don't really think that, this is moving the needle that much inside the building. In fact, I tried to portray it as a blockbuster move to Andrew in the press conference, and he said, we don't look at it like that. This is not some big dramatic thing. This is not a big blockbuster move. This was us getting some good value on a quarterback that kind of dropped in the draft, and we got him at a pretty steep discount. So that's kind of how they're looking at it.
Mary Kay, when you look at the QB depth chart in Cleveland, 4 quarterbacks there now, do you think it's going to, normally we would think the 5th-round pick is 4th on the depth chart. Is that in reality how it's going to work this offseason?
I think so. I don't know if he will be tied with someone at the back of the depth chart, but I think coming in, that's certainly where he's going to be. And we know that they like Dillon Gabriel better because they had an opportunity to take Shedeur there, and they picked Dillon instead. So we know Dillon is coming in ahead of him in the minds of the team. So he's certainly behind him. And then they really talked up Kenny Pickett a lot when they traded for him. And then, of course, you've got Joe coming in here as an 18th-year veteran and someone who won 4 games against only 1 loss in 2023. So I do think that Shedeur is going to have to climb his way up that depth chart, and nothing will be handed to him.
Couple more minutes here with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat writer, Cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer. She's a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector, and we appreciate your time, Mary Kay. We know it's a busy time of year, and knowing how the front office and the coaching staff handle players because you're so tied in with the organization, are they expecting Shedeur to tone it down? Are they expecting him to continue the podcast, the live streaming? Are they going to tell him to blend in, or is this more of a front office that says, hey, be you, do you, be authentic, and we'll kind of move around that?
Well, once again, remember, they had Johnny Manziel here. They had Baker They had Baker Mayfield here.
Yeah, but this regime
right?
didn't draft Baker.
Well, they kind of did. Andrew Berry was here. He
wasn't in the big spot, right?
He was on that staff, and he was part of that decision and was part of that whole scene. So a lot of the people that are running the show now were there at that time. And so they know how to handle this kind of thing. And yes, with Baker and Deshaun and all of these guys, they have just said, be yourself and go do your thing and play good football and do what you're supposed to do. They don't try to control personalities. Now, I don't think that they're going to give him any mandates on what he can and can't do in terms of his social media and those kinds of things.
Okay, interesting.
Mary Kay, right after the trade for the 2 and 5, Daniel Jeremiah and NFL Network, I believe, brought up, this could be a big picture Arch Manning plan. And you mentioned they're thinking about future quarterback classes. One scenario, though, is the team is really bad to get that high in the draft. Would that put GM Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in a really bad position? If I don't want to use the word tank, but if they had a 3-14 season, does that mean that Stefanski might lose his job?
I don't think they're going to have a 3-14 season. Of course, a lot depends on the quarterback. But if you look to last year, they turned the ball over 34 times. That was tied with the Titans. You can't win football games like that unless maybe you're taking it away a lot, but they weren't doing that either. So they finished last in the turnover differential at -22. If you just get that number turned around, or at least those turnovers cut in half, then you're already going to be at 6 victories or 7 victories. So I expect that they'll be more in that range. I don't think that this team is in full rebuild mode. I don't think they're going to be tanking. It might look like that from the outside in, but you have to remember they have the 2023 NFL Defensive Player of the Year in Myles Garrett. They've got 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback Denzel Ward. They've got Pro Bowl receiver Jerry Jeudy, Pro Bowl tight end David Njoku, Pro Bowlers along the offensive line in Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin. They added a lot of pieces. They revamped the running game this past weekend. They're going to have a really, really good running game. So the X factor is the quarterback. And if they can get decent quarterback play, it doesn't have to be superstar quarterback play, but if they can get decent quarterback play, then I think you're already in the 7 and 8 win range.
That would probably mean no Arch Manning, even though we don't even know if Arch Manning will be in next year's draft. Would that be, is there anyone in Cleveland who might be disappointed if they missed out on a top pick in the future? Say they do win 7 games and have the 10th pick. That does it. The quarterback plan then is in flux again.
Well, it is, but remember now they have 2 first-round picks already. At this moment in time, they have 2 first-round picks. So if they want to continue to climb into a range where they can get one of the best quarterbacks in this draft next year, then I'm sure they would find a way to do it. If they're going to get that close, they'll just keep going. It doesn't mean they have to tank, but they can go about it another way.
Mary Kay, last one for me. And again, thank you so much for carving out some time for us today. When do you think it became clear to the Browns that they wanted to pass on Travis Hunter? Because, they got that extra pick for next year, which is dynamite. That's fantastic. But they don't have, at least obviously, a franchise quarterback on the roster right now. And if that's going to be something they could address in the future, why did they think it was worth the risk to pass on Hunter, who could end up being the best player out of this draft period?
Well, once again, they got a player in Mason Graham at number 5, who was widely regarded as the best defensive tackle in the NFL. In the class, which is a premium position now. Everyone thought he was a top 5 player. Then they ended up getting another second-round pick and fourth-round pick this year, which they used on 2 running backs, including Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State, who should really come in here and be their bell cow back. Then they picked up the second first-round pick for next year. And when you add up all of those things, I think they firmly believe that they will come out ahead. We will see in the final analysis over the next 3 or 4 years how that actually works out, but they're ecstatic with their haul.
Mary Kay, thank you so much for doing this, trying to get into the psyche of everything going on with the Cleveland Browns and get a handle on this story. Always interesting in Cleveland, so we appreciate your perspective.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Mary Kay Cabot. You can read her, cleveland.com, plain dealer, and she's a Hall of Fame voter, too.
Yeah.
Selector.
She did make a good case. There obviously is some real talent there, and they had a lot of draft picks.
They had all those guys last year, though. But the turnovers were a killer.
Yeah.
Deshaun was bad.
I was thinking a lot about the Mason Graham, to me, like, I think a big risk, much bigger than Shedeur, is what if Travis Hunter becomes Shohei and Mason Graham becomes average? Which, by the way, we watched Mason Graham in Michigan. We saw what he did to Ohio State. He could be a monster, and this could work out great. But the 5-2 trade could have been the biggest draft story of the night. That easily could have been the biggest draft story of the night. And now I don't think we've mentioned it more than once.
Yeah, it's funny because I know that that the Browns have taken some big risks on quarterbacks. Like Deshaun was a huge risk, Deshaun Watson, right?
Sure.
With everything that was hanging over his head and how much money they gave him. And, Baker was the number 1 overall pick, and he was kind of a outspoken and kind of lightning rod of a guy. And I know Mary Kay said they have a lot of experience here. But I think I might push back. I don't think they've handled a lot of these situations well. Just because you have experience with it, I don't think means you've actually handled it well. They tossed Baker out of town for Deshaun. Terrible idea. Deshaun, awful idea. And, it's like you might have experience, but are they learning the lessons? Because everything always ends, it feels like, in the same place, which is the Browns picking high in the draft because their season was a disappointment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest hype, OBJ, like, do not underestimate how popular he is as a player, too. And I think he got more eyeballs going to Cleveland. When him and Baker were there together, I swear to God, SportsCenter led with them for 30 straight days. And
I know, but what was the outcome of that?
No, I'm not saying that it was good or bad. I don't think the personalities destroyed. The actual football wasn't quite there. And even as I recall, Baker was not really headed in the right direction as a quarterback.
He was hurt. He was injured. It was the non-throwing shoulder, so nobody took it seriously. The guy got hurt trying to play through it, and they got all distracted by Deshaun. And listen, I get it. Deshaun was a better quarterback at the time, but he had so much hanging over him.
I don't think that was a binary choice between Baker felt like that was happening anyway. Is that how I don't even remember that's
his non-throwing shoulder was hurt.
No, but it wasn't really a choice between Baker and Deshaun necessarily. I think Baker at that time was not the easiest person, according to all reports. Even he said I was not great. That was not a great situation in Cleveland, as you recall.
Wouldn't you take it 100 times out of 100 over Deshaun Watson?
No, I don't think Baker was going anywhere with that team. I don't think they were going to win at a high level.
If you gave them true serum, you don't think they'd do that over? That they would not do the Deshaun trade and keep Baker if they could all do it over again?
Well, they obviously wouldn't do the Deshaun trade. But no, as I recall, like, Baker had worn it out as welcome, for sure. Baker admitted it. He said the other day, like, I was not a mature person earlier in my career.
Okay. I'm just saying they have experience with this, but I don't think that necessarily means they're handling it any better.
They should have definitely drafted a quarterback at some point, for sure, and gotten the right guy for once.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. So you are welcome to call in about how you think this is going to work with Shedeur and the Browns. We'll see. He's going to be battling it out here. Okay, coming up. We have so much more to do. Perloff and I do not see eye to eye on one rookie quarterback, not Shedeur. Jalen Milroe from your Alabama Crimson Tide lands in Seattle. Is this a good spot for him? We'll explain our reasoning next. M&B.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly celebrating all who go above and beyond during Military Appreciation Month. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/celebrate. Our members are the mission. So what do we got going on now? I think it's got to be NBA playoffs. EJ, you picked this, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I
You
think
got
it's
one, Mac?
yeah. I mean, last night Draymond Green, he was really good defensively. You know, I think Draymond's antics. I'm just like, I'm so over it. And I watch the Warriors. I'm like, man, why do they don't need this stuff to win? And then at the end of the game, I'm like, maybe they do need this to win. They get under people's skin. It's, these are close games with the Rockets. Nobody can score easily. And Draymond was really good defensively last night.
Oh, come on. I hope you didn't do that. It's Defensive Player of the Week, though, not of the last 8 hours.
Okay,
that would be my only exception. I don't like when EJ does recency bias, although that is a good choice. That being said, I don't have a better choice.
the NFL playing defense on Shedeur Sanders. How about that?
Mel Kiper playing defense.
Who's the top defensive player in the draft, short of Travis Hunter? Kind of.
Yeah, I do a performance. Again, Mel Kiper would probably be a good choice. So the Defensive Player of the Week this week is Jarrett Allen, as the Cavaliers blew out the Heat last night, 50-point plus blowout. Jarrett Allen in this game had 6 steals, which you don't normally see from a center, right? 6 steals. He also had 12 rebounds. He was a plus 42, which was the highest of this entire game in a 50-point blowout. So in a game where the defense was good for everybody, Jarrett Allen stood out. So he's the Defensive Player of the Week. They held the Heat to only 83 points last night.
Real fashionista too, by the way, that Jarrett Allen. I like the
Oh,
way.
yeah.
I like the cut of his jib.
Well, he and Perloff are basically on a who wore it best.
We shop at the same. Yeah, I love Jarrett Allen, the only NBA player who dresses like a middle-aged dad, and he just gets torn apart by his teammates for that. He might be a little bit of a factor, by the way, in this playoff run. I don't know if blowing the heat out means anything, but are we not talking enough about the Cavs as a title hopeful?
I don't know. You're going to wag your finger at us like Barkley and Shaq, like we don't talk about the Cavs enough? I mean, listen, I'm sorry. The Browns upstaged you. What are you going to do?
Well,
in your own city? No, of course. We'll
Yeah.
talk about the Cavs. This was a non-factor series, though, because the Heat, they made their big trade at the deadline. They should probably not even be here.
It really wasn't.
And they
Do we not talk about it? In my own head, actually, I watched this here. So I'm like, oh man, do I have to? I think a lot of NBA fans are like, whoa, have we been sleeping on the Cavs? Are like, this is just the year.
Well, they're number one seed in the East. So.
But they got those pesky Celtics sitting there.
It's true. Very, very true. Let's get to Jalen Milroe because, Pearl, he's been one of your favorite quarterbacks all season long. You really did love him. Even go back to last year.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jalen Milroe fan. This season was a nightmare, but that's because he did not gel with Kellen DeBoer. But I still thought he was one of the 2 or 3 most interesting draft prospects to me.
You thought Alabama should have made the college football playoff. I mean, you were really behind him, and he ends up going 3rd-round pick to Seattle. Now, we see this very differently. I'm very curious to see what Jalen Milroe is like in the NFL, and I don't love this spot for him. I don't, because here's why. I'm no huge Sam Darnold supporter, but Sam has the job, and if he plays well, they're going to continue to roll with him. So I just wonder for Milroe, you have to develop more as a passer. Don't you need live reps for that? Like you had a long college career, so you've played. To get ready at the NFL level, yeah, you can do it behind the scenes, but I think that only takes you so far. And the type of packages they're going to bring him in for are going to be running packages, obviously. Like you're the change of pace guy now from Darnold. You can't have 2 more different types of quarterbacks than Milroe and Darnold. So I worry for him that he's not going to get any meaningful burn. And 2, if Darnold plays well or even okay, if he plays kind of well, I think that he keeps that job and Milroe's backup for a while.
Well, let me ask you this question. Where could he have gotten burnt? Where would he have played?
New Orleans.
Well,
I think he would have played for the Saints. And so,
he doesn't fit the Saints, though. Because the Saints are...
Who knows what the Saints are?
The Saints won Drew Brees. They're an indoor team who wants to throw the ball 50 times a game. The Seattle is, who are they recreating? They're recreating the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they're not fooling anyone. Everyone knows they want to be Baltimore West. They have Mike McDonald, a former sort of hardball guy. So this is he's the heir apparent to Lamar Jackson. There were a lot of quotes from people saying he is the best runner coming to the league since Lamar Jackson. Somebody said he's better than Lamar Jackson. So that is his superpower. that he's not just a good running quarterback. He's better than everybody that we've ever seen,
that's
except
fine.
for Lamar Jackson, maybe.
Then why did they? Then what's Sam Darnold doing?
Well, Sam
there?
Darnold's one of the thinnest starters. He's one of the easiest to get rid of contracts in the NFL. I can't think of a less secure starter. Maybe there's a couple, but generally, you're right. New Orleans is a good one, but generally, like Sam Darnold, they can get out of Sam Darnold easily starting next year. It was interesting. Seattle didn't want to pay Geno Smith, and they didn't want to commit to Geno Smith. They got a much lighter commitment out of Sam Darnold, and I do think Jalen Milroe needs to sit for a year or two. This seems like a great spot because the Seattle did not make a long-term commitment to Sam Darnold at all. So this is a great spot to learn, get in, and I think eventually Seattle wants to recreate the Ravens in the sense that they're going to be great on defense, run the ball, have a running quarterback that defenses have to pay attention to. I honestly, this would be my number one choice for him.
Okay, I just find that Seattle seems a little schizophrenic on this because you could say that Mike Macdonald is there to trying to recreate the Ravens. He was the defensive coordinator, and their offensive coordinator is Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, who's more of a
Case
stretch.
Keenum, Kirk Cousins,
Yeah.
Geno Smith. That's not Jalen Milroe. Now, maybe he's versatile and he can come up with something different, but Sam Darnold seems like it fits more in line with Clint Kubiak and what he wants to do. And then here comes Jalen Milroe as a totally different kind of player.
But the Kubiaks, going back to Gary,
yeah,
they've had big mobile guys. Did he coach Elway or play with Elway? But regardless, his famous play is the quarterback play action rolls to the right. I mean, Milroe's could be great at that play. The stretch pass play, he'll be good at that play. I think that you're right. It's not a perfect marriage, but Milroe is not a perfect marriage for any offensive coordinator right now. He's very underdeveloped as a passer. I just think that this is a team that is going to commit to him because ultimately they want their Lamar Jackson. He's going to be such a pain for defenses as a runner. Now he really needs to work on intermediate and short. That's why I don't think he would get on the field in New Orleans. If he went to New Orleans, who would we compare him to immediately? What would everybody say? He'd be Taysom Hill 2.0.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be Taysom Hill like here too. I would not be shocked if he lined up at other positions.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to try to find a way to get him on the field, no doubt, but it's just so different. And I guess you're talking about like I didn't love this. I was like, man, if Darnold plays well, he's not going to get on the field, and it's just so different. I felt like there was another place that could have been a little more of an easier path for him to get on the field.
That's so funny because when Darnold signed there, we've argued about Darnold a lot. You didn't think he had a ton of value this offseason.
No. I think that playoff game, the last game of the season, the playoff game
last
just
two games.
torched him.
And then I'm like, and I'm sort of a Darnold supporter. I love my journeyman quarterbacks. And then he signed this deal. I'm like, yes, he signed with Seattle. Then the details came out like, Seattle made no commitment to this guy whatsoever.
Yes,
so this is
renting.
I think this is a spot where you want to get drafted. You get 2 years to sit. He needs the 2 years. I think this is all going to be good. And by the way, Seattle is building a sneaky defense. I mean, pull up their depth chart, you're like, whoa, they got all these guys drafted defense. Like, they're going to be interesting. I would watch that team because what did we talk about Mike Macdonald? That's a guy who could walk in right now and we wouldn't know who he is. We'd be like, are you a board op or on the other show? He has no personality whatsoever. He's made no impact. I think he's about to start he's got to make some noise there, right? Am I wrong? He didn't do anything in his first year.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Andrew Bogusch is here with the latest.
Guys, Brock Purdy still needs that contract in San Francisco, but George Kittle's done. The tight end and the Niners agreeing on a 4-year extension set to include $40 million guaranteed. Kittle is now the highest paid at his position. If you were down 70-25, eventually trailing by 60 before losing 138-83 with your season on the line, did you actually play an NBA playoff game last night?
This one makes me sick. It makes me physically ill that this was a playoff game. I'm sorry.
The Heat took that beating from the Cavs last night, 2 days after a 37-point embarrassment. Donovan Mitchell, not that impressed.
We have a bigger goal in mind. I think for us, understanding that this is special. We've been doing special things all year, but we didn't come here just to sweep in the first round and get to the second. You know what I mean? So the goal is how can we, take advantage of this rest, this break, and then be ready to go for next round.
The Cavs were plus 122 over the 4-game sweep, making this the most lopsided series in playoff history. Eric Spoelstra now jealous of Cavs culture.
They're a hell of a basketball team. They're going to be on probably a long run right now, but they're well coached. They have a group that fits and plays the right way. So we were humbled.
Maggie, I'm with you. This shouldn't be allowed. I don't know what the punishment is.
How you gonna step in?
I don't know. Maybe the Heat can't be in the play-in next year. If they're a top 6 seed, fine. But they can't be in the play-in again next year. They got to forfeit a draft pick. You can't lose back-to-back home games by 90-plus points to have your season end.
I actually came away. I immediately thought, they got to mix the East and the West or do something differently. But then my logic was like, well, if the Heat played the Thunder, that's not going to help either.
They might lose by 100 points.
Yeah, I know. So that's not the answer. But
Shea would be holding up 100 like Will, like that famous photo.
The East playoffs are just so disappointing this first round. Not disappointing. I know the later rounds will be good, but Pacers Bucks is terrible. Celtics Magic. Does anybody think the Magic have a chance? So it just happens this way. Yeah,
I think you
agree.
nailed it before the play-in. It's just getting teams in. Yeah. Sometimes the play-in's been really good for Miami. With Jimmy Butler, they went from the play-in. They were on the brink of elimination, went to the finals. But what's more likely to happen? You're not doing that.
Well, yeah, but this year, especially this year's East, where the teams are like, are we tanking or are we going to be in the play-in?
What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean,
no one can tell.
Honestly, teams are like, should we be playing to get in this play-in or for Cooper Flag? It was the Sixers were in the playoff mix, and your Nets were in the playoff mix in March, and they were 20 games behind 500 or something.
Yeah, February, I think. The Nets were checked out smartly.
Yeah, then it became a race
That's
to the
always
bottom.
good for a sport.
But I went back and looked. Last year, the West had, in the first round, it had 2 sweeps.
I know.
It had a 5-gamer, which was the Nuggets politely not sweeping the Lakers, and then a 6-game series.
But the Nuggets-Lakers games were close, as I recall. They were not like this, and they were interesting.
Sure. I mean, I guess they were competitive, but you had 3 wins out of 4 series by the losing teams.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because we had this argument before. I'm like, does this year feel worse and more lopsided? It is on the lopsided side.
I think we're just sick of blowouts. College football playoff, the 12-team, we end up getting good games in the later rounds, in the semifinals and the final. But the early runs are blowouts. UConn winning back-to-back. I know Florida is obviously the reigning champ, but the UConn second title, they were winning every game by 30. I don't know.
I think they were always blowouts, but I think the issue is because of the three-point shot being such a prominent point. Like when you have one team shoot 22 for 47 and shoot almost 50% from 3, the other team shoots 10 for 49. That's how you get lopsided scores, just the math. I mean,
it also helps with comebacks, though, because, three-pointers, you never kind of feel like you're out. Well, last night the Heat were out of it.
I mean, the Thunder had a historic comeback in part because they were able to make threes.
Yeah, Clippers came back on the Nuggets and made a fun
they
game.
Almost made that a game, right? So,
but it's weird. The underdogs don't feel like they have a chance this year, and it's funny. Except I was just saying, the 7 and 8 seeds are out. Except the Warriors are clearly they're the better. I think they were favored coming into the series against the Rockets. So
even though they're the
Rockets because the West, every team was three games apart, right? They had basically the same record. Anyway, I don't like this first round. I'm mad at it. Although the Nuggets Clippers series has been good.
Grr.
Last night's drama was in San Francisco.
Send it back to the chef.
Where those Warriors sidestepped the Rockets 109-106 for a 3-1 series lead. Draymond Green, 6 points, 8 rebounds, 5 fouls, including a flagrant and 1 tech. Game 5 in Houston tomorrow night. Adam Silver confirming yesterday the NBA is considering an international format for their next All-Star game, which will air on NBC on a Sunday afternoon during their Winter Olympics coverage. This is on the heels of this season's mini tournament setup, doing really nothing to improve the quality of said All-Star game.
Thanks, Adam Silver. Bang up job.
The Tampa Bay Lightning were 4 minutes away from evening their series with the Panthers at 2 games apiece, but then
Reinhart just inside the line. Long shot save, they rebound, they score! And it's Aaron Ekblad crashing the net, and the Panthers have tied this game at 2 with 3:47 to play in the third. Aaron Ekblad picks up the rebound, and this game is tied.
And just 11 seconds later, it wasn't Seth Jones scoring to put Florida in front. They won 4-2 for a 3-1 series edge. The Stars took a 3-2 lead on the Avalanche with a 6-2 home win. Dallas never trailing thanks to Wyatt Johnston scoring just 9 seconds into the game, the quickest goal in postseason history. Jose Altuve, asked out of the Astros leadoff spot, was hitting second last night and homered and drove in 3 in an 8-5 win over the Tigers, which I didn't write down. The Twins hammered the Guardians 11-1 for a 4-game win streak, and the Orioles snapped their 3-game skid 4-3 over the Yankees. And Boise State football head coach Spencer Danielson reportedly signing a new 5-year deal that doubles his salary to $2.2 million annually. His team just made the CFP in his first full season on the job. Guys, back to you.
All right, I've gotten to the bottom of it. A little extra research. I figured out this whole Belichick Jordon Hudson thing. I figured it out.
No.
No, I got the thing now.
Second shooter?
It's a smoking gun. And a second shooter.
eBay?
It's the. I know.
How does he not know?
I've claimed to have the answers before.
Wait, he didn't know she was 24?
No.
Guys, I figured it out.
No,
she has boobs.
And something else
And
that
he's
I think
old.
men covet. No, a detail about her life that now I think makes a lot of sense.
She's 25.
Beyond that one. A detail you may not have heard yet.
He's gross.
We
Am I there yet? I don't want to steal your
got
thunder.
the receipts here. Nope. In fact, Bogusch, way off.
Wow.
This detail is going to have to be a miracle to get Bogusch off the
What's
path
more
he's
off,
gone
me
down.
or their age gap?
I'm telling you, you're not going to see this one coming. I could give you 1,000 guesses. You wouldn't guess it.
So this detail sort of explains the interview and everything that's going on there.
It unlocks everything. We tell you in just minutes. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The interview that went viral, Bill Belichick on CBS Sunday morning. Just a light show. This is not the hard-hitting journalism, right? Pearl, they're not trying to get to the bottom of anything. They were trying to let Bill promote his book.
No. I mean, it used to be Bill Moyer, like they do, and Charles Kuralt. There is a journalistic DNA to the movie, to that show. But if they have like a hard-hitting interview, it goes on the night show, not the Sunday morning show. Sunday morning's light, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, hey, come take a tour of Sting's villa in Tuscany with us. You know, that's kind of like...
Love that show.
It's a good segment. That's a real thing that happened on that show. But anyway, so Belichick, and let's hear the sound again. Connor, we'll get people up to speed on this one. So here's Belichick. First, just some things about Robert Kraft. Not in the book anywhere. Belichick he had to maybe expect that people might ask about his ties back to the Patriots and things like that. So Belichick, Robert Kraft not in the book.
I'm wrong. He's not in this book. How come?
He's not. Well, again, it's about my life lessons in football, and it's really more about the ones that I experienced directly.
But he's not even in the acknowledgement section.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Belichick saying the departure from the Patriots was mutual because now that's come under some scrutiny.
Do you feel like you were treated with dignity and respect when you were let go by Robert Kraft?
Yeah. Well, it was a mutual decision for us to part ways.
He said fired.
It was a mutual decision.
Okay. Well, then so that's a little more of the professional stuff. Now we get to Jordon Hudson, who is Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend, who was, according to reports, ubiquitous around this interview, Pearl, that he only showed up with her and that she interrupted the interview multiple times, including, according to TMZ, at one point she got up and stormed out, expecting Belichick to follow her out. You're going to walk out on a CBS Sunday morning interview. What are you doing? Anyway, here's Jordon Hudson shutting down what seemed like a pretty simple question.
Jordon was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordon right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Why?
It doesn't stop being cringeworthy. I've heard it multiple times now. It's still,
And knowing now that she interrupted multiple times, apparently it delayed the interview like a full 30 minutes. Now, before we went to break, I said that I have the key, the findings of what is at the center of this relationship. Bogusch had his theories, more to do with the women's anatomy.
I have the theories.
Both theories, yes.
Yeah.
And those have been on display on the red carpet in some ways. She doesn't leave much to the imagination. Anyway, that's her fashion choice. So there's a New York Post article, kind of deep dive. It's on the front page right now of their website.
Sure, this one's not going to be up for a Pulitzer, but go ahead.
Real journalism here, too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, it starts off with people around Belichick are actually quite concerned, according to this article, that they're alarmed that she is a runaway train and that she saw. Are you okay?
I took a sip of water the second you said that. That just sounded hysterical.
And that she saw an opening and kind of like weaseled her way into, not weaseled, that's my turn. That she kind of saw an opening, maybe Belichick needed, I don't know. And now here she is.
Yeah.
Now, there's also people who are saying very nice things about her, that his accomplishments are overshadowing her potential. She's a Miss Maine runner-up. She's a pageant person. She's a high-achieving person who could run a business in high heels and run circles around you. And there's a lot of people, this is not just roasting her. There's people on her side of this that are responding positively. But
really? I didn't know any of that. I didn't know she was a beauty pageant. That's interesting.
So, listen, these pageant people, you got to be dedicated. Like, we joke about that.
Oh, yeah. They're real brainiacs.
Well, Pearl, don't be a jerk about it. I'm saying they're high achieving. You have to have a ton of discipline to do that.
Yeah,
it's tough. That's a tough circuit. Okay. But as far as finding out a little bit more about Jordon Hudson, possible, guys, that unlike Belichick, she's just more of a free spirit. And what I mean by that is that she was born in a place called Hancock, Maine. Her parents are Lee and Heath Hudson, who had a small business called Frenchman Bay Fisheries that unfortunately went bankrupt when you couldn't fish in the certain area of Maine anymore. So I'm assuming her mom is Lee and Heath. Her mom's Lee, moved to Provincetown, Massachusetts. And I'll give you 1,000 guesses of what she does in Provincetown, Mass.
The mom.
It's Lee and Heath, so I'm going to say Lee's the mom.
So obviously, like you implied, some kind of swinger kind of thing.
No, not swinger necessarily. But what do you think her job?
Like
her employment.
I'm guessing something new age, like a masseuse or a something like that.
She is the manager of Toys of Eros sex shop.
Right.
And Manny just put his head in his hands. The mom manages a sex shop. I think that she's probably got to be a pretty free spirit here. And
I was right.
Well, you said boobs.
Yeah.
So, you know what? It's a little more...
it's always the right answer, man.
Battery power than that.
I feel like you undersold Bogusch's pretty solid guesses.
Listen, Toys of Eros, he wasn't anywhere close.
So she has a toolbox in addition to
I think it's
her
a utility
natural
belt.
Yes, okay, fine. But my point remains.
Batman-esque. So that's what the mom does. Not what she does. That's what her mom does.
Everything I learned about Bill Belichick just confirms why he should be nowhere near an NFL team.
Well, how about college? You love him more in a college program.
No, but I guess these college teams are a little more desperate.
Listen, again, this is her mom. It's not her. I just found that to be a very funny detail because a sex shop will never not be funny. And the fact it's her mom.
So, okay, let me just get this straight. So you think that it might have been sex that Bill Belichick was after and not intellectual companionship.
Or philosophy on plane trips.
I had never thought about this.
He signed her textbook.
I thought it was, what did you say, that she was like walking around a boardroom in heels or something? Did she go to cosmetology school?
I don't know. It doesn't say. But anyway, yeah. I think she's a free spirit. He autographed her textbook, Deductive Logic. So I don't think that's cosmetology, bro.
No. She did. She was at the New England Hair Academy.
Okay, well, it's a good way to make a living.
Yeah.
This is the quote. Jordon
but it's not just hair; it's also cosmetology.
Okay, good. I mean, her hair and makeup look great. Jordon clearly gets her open-mindedness, entrepreneurial spirit, and will to promote social welfare from her mother. I love that managing a sex shop is promoting social welfare. But you know what? Who's to say?
Who's to say what?
It is what it is.
You're both right, but you're both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
There's, as Jimmy Traina was on earlier, he's like, we all talk about this differently when we're off air. We all know what's going on here.
Well, now
And
I just put a little more of a point.
There are four men with you here, and I think we all hope that when
You forgot Manny. He's back there somewhere,
Manny's
not
back
working
there.
today.
And except, no, I can't say this. But if I was 73 and wasn't married, I would definitely want a 25-year-old girlfriend. I'm just going to put it out there.
For some reason, they wouldn't answer the question about how they met, but she put on social media when he signed her textbook, Jordan, thanks for giving me a course on logic, safe travels. And she did a post on their meet-iversary on Instagram of when they met.
We're not talking about that, Maggie.
Let's say a big thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you, Connor. Good job today. Thank you, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan. Widows.
You're in a 5-minute break.